Hello, Orville Nation. How are you guys? Hello, Pink. Hello. Cryptic Charms here. Oh wow. Hello, Adega. Hello, everybody, guys. We have a really nice topic tonight, and we have a star-studded cast for our panel. So let me introduce. You all remember, of course, our Starfleet and soon-to-be Orville meteorologist, Katie Nicolau.
Hi, everyone.
You guys remember our amazing prop expert from Switzerland, Anna from Folkenstahl.
Hello.
You guys remember our awesome friend Rose from the penrosetrekkie.com.
Hello.
And you guys, everybody knows Kathia Star from Kathia Star YouTube channel. Hello, Kathia.
Yes.
Hello.
And of course,
and Glomp Adega from. You'll know what I mean.
Okay. Adega might not be in here yet. I always say hi to Adega, whether I see him or not, because I think he's probably there hiding, lurking. And hello, Raquel.
Woo!
Canada.
Orville Nation! Woo!
Our friend Raquel. Awesome, guys. Well, listen, it's ladies, it's great to have you here, all of you. And we just lost
Rose.
Okay.
Okay,
That's it.
this is reminding me too much of Doctor Who. Sorry, keep going.
She'll be back. Okay, she'll be back.
Rose.
There she is.
Good.
Hey,
Okay.
Welcome back, baby.
today.
By the way, I
Adega's
love.
in the house! Adega! Woo! Just checked in.
There he is.
Hey, Accident Comics.
See, I know these things.
I'm slowly picking up on people's names. I'm horrible with them, by the way. I'm so glad
Right?
they had the panels underneath our names because I'd forget my own.
Yes. Ditto.
Look at this question in the chat. What do you guys think about this?
Oh, they're already starting out with
They're
a good
already
one.
starting. They're already starting.
That's a hard yes.
I mean, how could you
Absolutely.
not?
Yeah.
Really? So Katie and Rose are saying yes? Wow.
Oh, absolutely.
Why? Give us a reason.
Well, just because that they're friends from having worked together previously. And the thing is that when you have any creatives that are friends who have engaged in each other's work, they tend to repeat it because it's so much fun, and you get to, as the audience, like, that comes out in the chemistry between the characters, the fact that they have this deeper history with each other off screen, and that adds to the character development on screen. So just from like a performer aspect, knowing what it's like working with the same people again and again and having the opportunity to revisit those connections, it's so great for just like giving a little extra kick to your performance.
I like that. I like that logic. What about you?
I think she did such a good job. Like, I can totally see her coming back.
And it was season 1, right? So yeah,
It was.
it's about time, maybe.
Yeah, was that what? Priya?
Priya, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, names.
Names. Yeah.
Anna, I want to ask you what you think, but first I have to tell you, you have the most amazing Orville uniform on.
Thank
Oh.
you. Doing my best.
Wow.
You look fantastic. I'm jealous.
Oh no,
Wow.
don't be. I think you can have these like a bit cheaper than I paid for the custom one, and yeah, I think maybe with a few of those badges, self-made, or maybe
Nice. Yeah, I could
I'm a
probably.
real prop maker.
Yeah.
And this would be nice. Maybe we could all have like a uniform. That would be nice.
Oh, that'd be so cool if all of us just showed up in uniform one day.
And with
This
the
is
right
a compliment.
background, like PJ.
PJ would be in purple for sure.
Oh, thank you.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
As an admiral. Did you just call me old?
No, you're the head of our entire organization.
I'm just kidding.
True. The
Anna, what do
fearless
you-
leader.
There we go.
What do you think about Anna? What do you think about Charlize Theron being back in season 3?
I'd be fine with it, actually. I mean, I liked her character. It was a one-off thing, but maybe she could come back. I would be absolutely fine with it.
Okay, so you think, but you said you do think it was a one-off thing at first, right?
It looked like a one-off, but maybe she could come back. I mean, I'm fine with it. So,
What
but to
about
me,
you?
yeah, it looked like a one-off thing.
Oh, okay. What about you, Kathia? What do you think about Charlize Theron coming back?
I want to say no, actually. I think it was just a one-off, to tell you the truth. I mean, but then I'm wrong about these things usually anyway. I mean, if she does come back, it's going to be the Stargate thing. What was the character that played Claudia Black? Her, if she comes back, I see pre Orville for a reason of thing, not necessarily just for like just to drop in and say, hey, I escaped and now you come chase me.
He's gonna be like Q.
Use her in some way. Maybe. I don't suspect going to be just a one-off thing but my gut tells me it's not going to happen. Not because she wasn't good, but because they're just done with that particular story. They don't want to do that or do that plot line, because you can write yourself into a corner, and I honestly think Seth's a little bit more word I'm looking for, schemy. Seth's in his writing, in his, like, he sees it's like a chess game with him, which is really cool for a writer to have. It's really cool for a writer to have that talent, because he's not just subverting expectations just for the sake of subverting them. He's subverting the overall story of the Orville itself from season to season. He's looking at it from a how do I say, from a divine force, because he's the divine. Just looking at one season or season two, the whole chessboard is going to put his pawns, examines them, and then he will strike. And you'll see this up, because I see this going into probably about 6 or 7 seasons overall. Like original without the last, because I don't know if anybody's, but usually when we 7 seasons or so, it starts to flick and tank like the Titanic. And I don't see Seth saying 7 seasons story, deal with it. And again, he's coming at it from a type of seat, almost like a Discworld Terry Pratchett kind of a thing. I don't know if anybody. I see there's a lot of mastery here, and he's got a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? He's got a lot of experience in this, because he's been working on all this is kind of what I'm expecting out of Orville, and I hope I'm not expecting too much. I have to be looking out for. I'm done now. I know there's a delay.
Raquel, Diego says, what are you on? And I assume I know he's referring to a program. He's not referring to something else. Um,
Might be because I freaked out when he came on air, but I
okay.
came into the chat, but I don't think he realizes that we just had a conversation about you predicting whether or not he would show up.
Oh,
You know what I mean? So he's like, "Oh, why is Raquel so happy to see me?" And it's actually just
Very good impression.
PJ called it, and you showed up. It was great. You called your people, and your people came.
And that's why you're the admiral.
what do you think about Charlize, Raquel?
I think it's weird that such a big star who is so critically acclaimed appeared on the small screen. It's obvious she didn't do this for money.
Yeah.
So I think we may or may not see her again. And, it's really up to her. I think it all boils down to, did she have fun? Because she strikes me as somebody who, if for obvious reasons, she's obviously doing this for personal reasons. I think that if she were to appear again as Priya, or if she were to appear again completely incognito in some sort of elaborate alien garb, I don't think we should be too surprised. It's weird. This has to be personal. There's no reason for Charlize Theron, the monster actress who is so critically acclaimed. Isn't she an Oscar winner? To appear on a parody about Star Trek, unless she is prepared to just go there and have a heck of a good time.
Yeah,
and I think she did.
Okay. All right. I'm going to ask each of you, I'm going to ask each of you, who's your favorite female actress on the Orville? And I'm going to start with Katie. We're going to try to go in order here.
Oh, this is a very easy one.
And while you do that, I'm going to be showing pictures of Anna's work in the background.
Yes. Oh yeah. No. Penny Johnson-Gerald she's like my favorite, absolute favorite. I've loved her on Deep Space Nine, and so when I saw that she was going to be on Orville, I was like, "Oh, Star Trek connection, hooray!" And then I start to see Doc Finn, and I'm like, "Oh, favorite character." I don't know why. I just kind of probably just the scientist in me, but I attached myself to her character because she is just the epitome of strength. And there's
Yeah, if Katie if Katie was a crew member, she'd have a green uniform.
Yeah, I think so.
Although I can't wear green in my normal life at work, so that'd be kind of ironic.
Unless you'd like to disappear into your job, literally.
Exactly. But yeah, no, she's just such a genuinely strong character, and that's something that I think it's hard to find in at least American television right now, because they think, oh, if it's going to be a strong character, they have to be either super damaged or they have to be like super witchy, or like they just have to be just I don't know, one of the extremes.
Yeah.
Whereas Finn, it's like Seth knows what people want to see, and it's a strong female character who can have relationships, who can have kids, who can be an incredible kick-ass woman and have all these adventures all wrapped into one. She isn't like stuck in a corner. And so, yeah, I got into it a little bit with Picard, because the female characters on there are always like put into one corner. Like, okay, you're the damaged alcoholic, you're the android, you're the medic who's sweet but are like totally brainwashed. Like, you're boxing them in. Where Doc Finn, I mean, she could probably, I don't know, join the Hunger Games, and I wouldn't be surprised. Like,
yeah.
What about you, Anna? Who's your favorite actress on the Orville?
From the characters, I would go, Claire, yeah, definitely too. But I was torn between Alara and Tala. And especially the episode when they switched from Alara to Tala, I was like, okay, who's this? Let's see. And I think I like her more now than Alara, actually. I don't know. I can't explain how or why. It's just like, I like her. Just from a certain point, I was like, yep, she fits. She's perfect. So
yeah, I have to.
And Claire.
I have to say that you picked a red uniform. So
Yeah,
do you identify with
obviously.
Alara and Tala?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I like the guns, and I like the whole security and the military stuff. So I really like it. I'm not the medical type. Also, maybe also not the commander type. I'm really like, I will die for you guys.
And
Oh,
we just need to show Anna in full uniform. Look at that.
Yes.
Very nice.
Look at that.
Awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anna, that's like amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
She looks beautiful. I love her with long dark hair too.
That's fantastic.
So good.
And you built the weapon, which I just want to
Yes.
just show real quick.
That's the best thing about Anna is she's
Holy Christmas.
yeah, she's legit.
And she gives she documents all her building here on her website. Look at that.
Oh, be still my heart.
That's so awesome.
I'm so glad you could join us, Anna, because I really wanted to connect you with our panel tonight. It's just
Yes.
Yay. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. I wasn't sure at first. I was like, well, I'm not really, I don't know if I fit, but let's just try.
Yes, you absolutely
Yeah.
do.
100%.
of course you fit.
What could be more Power Women Wednesday on Orville Nation than an actual maker? Everyone here has so much respect for you. You are a talented artist, and we love having you here. Don't be silly.
Thank
You
you.
should come back often.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, we will
I
invite
would
you
love
often. Rose, who's your favorite character?
It's God. They're all so well freaking written. They're all so human. Okay. So I can say this out loud. This is a safe space for this. I actually really freaking love Talea, the Krill who was undercover and fake dating the captain. And I love what they were playing at with that character. I love that he was so enamored with her. He just missed all the red flags that she wasn't a human being. Like every time he mentioned a movie and she had no idea, I knew something was up. I knew something was up the whole time he was dating her because it was just too obvious, the whole build-in. And the reveal was so perfect.
Yeah.
And then she's, oh my God.
She's very James Bond too, isn't she, Rose? Because she's a school teacher.
Oh,
and
yeah.
former soldier. So it's like she's very Bond.
That's such a huge thing with their culture, right? I mean, they're all basically trained to be warriors, even the teachers. So everything's so interchangeable there. And her, oh my God, her requesting to go on that mission to get him, and just the implications of what it means moving forward.
Yeah.
I love stories about characters or cultures you think of as which are seemingly irredeemable from the outside, and then you actually get one-on-one and you see the depth and you see the richness, and you just like it's so, I love stories like that where you actually have to get beneath the literal and metaphorical surface of a character. I love it so freaking much.
Gal Gadot had to go into the military as well, right? And here we have her as a super sexy, amazing actress, and we all love her, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I do want to point this out and I know there's people here who like CBS, but there's, this discussion has come up a lot, and, the women in the military are not trying to be men. They're acting like women in the military. And some of those, I'm just pointing this out because I think sometimes some of the CBS writing is trying to make them very masculine.
Yeah.
Okay, what?
Yeah. There is from time to time some, shall we say, lazy storytelling going on. It's like, oh, well, they're in uniform, so they're going to be the in uniform character, which they end up writing as men rather than as women.
And it's always just like, oh, I'm a girl, I'm hanging out with all the guys, sort of thing. Like, yeah, that happens.
Yeah,
sure.
playing into
happens,
playing into that trope of, oh, I don't get along with other girls, I only get along with boys.
Ah, I see.
In social science, we
Totally.
call
It's like,
that the.
I mean, I was kind
girl.
of like that in middle school.
Yeah. I think we
Yeah,
all had a
same,
touch of that. We all
somehow.
wanted to be that girl that was able to like stand apart from the rest. Like there's a little bit of a narrative going on when you purport, when you say to the world, like, I don't really get along with other girls. I find it so hard. And then you're actually putting yourself in a position of not being able to make these connections with people who have stuff in common with you.
AVP's in the
Andrea.
house. AVP. Hey, DJ. Yeah, hail DJ.
Kafia, what about you? What are you gonna say is your favorite actress?
Well, I've recently come into an understanding. Because when I first started watching the Orville, I just did not like. She irritated me much. And then stuff happened, and I realized that the reason why I hated her was because her so much. And it's strange to see when you see a character that reflects qualities about you that you would not be faced with. That's where that comes from, dissonance. And so I saw Kelly and her heart and her love for Ed, and I thought she's gonna get stomped and get just stomped. But she's probably got traits that keep her from getting stomped. She's affirmative, okay, and being in a situation where we're surrounded by command men, I realized that she has so much in common with Samantha Carter. It's not. I love Samantha Carter. So
can you just describe who Sam
thought,
is,
okay,
just in case?
Oh, Samantha Carter, she's from Stargate. She's incredibly smart. And when she first came on the first episode, she sat down at the table with all the dudes, and Daniel Jackson was there, and O'Neill was there. Question of her being basically said, just because she said something as my reproductive organs are inside of my body doesn't make me any weaker than you. That
technically makes you stronger.
That's when I started to resonate more with, and I'm actually kind of about mind on that. So she's got to make it better, even whether or not she actually slept with his name Darius. What's his name again?
Darulio.
Yes,
Darulio. That's it.
Darulio.
Yeah, Darulio. Whether or not there was problem with that, or doesn't make a difference in the between Ed. Okay, she still made a choice. It was still there. So what she did was up, and she's trying to not necessarily correct her mistake, but of her mistake, and she went through. And that says so much to me right now. It isn't even funny. For the endurance, for the long haul. And she's developing these connections, the other crew members as well. So it's grown from just being Ed to, and from that, she herself is healing from her own self-inflicted wound. And I just love.
Yes, totally agree.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah,
was that
I definitely.
No. We love the characters we love because they reflect something that we appreciate, like Katie loving Finn because she's a real human who's smart and has a family and able to do all the things. I love Talea because I'm a huge sucker for like a full-on redemption arc, and we love the characters we love because they in some part reflect something really integral that is something that we value deeply.
I wonder what that says about me loving Doctor Who.
Beginnings. New beginnings all the freaking time.
Raquel, did you say who was your favorite actress?
No.
I'm sorry, I had to step away for a second.
Oh, that's okay. No problem. I had to jump out too because Kathia was cutting out for me. So I had to jump out and jump back in.
Oh, okay. So who do you think, Raquel, is your favorite actress in the Orville, and why?
Well, I don't know. I have favorite actresses, and then I have favorite characters. I like Tall. I think Tall is really great. I read quite a lot of the heat that the Orville takes for taking on certain issues. And as many of you know, I'm just waiting to finish my doctorate in social science and looking to get my funding. So for me, those issues surrounding women and stuff they're pretty important to me. And so I think that Tall was able to silence a lot of the critics who tried to oversimplify what the Orville was doing. And they were ridiculously overly critical of the show. So I just love her. I think that she's great. I think you could switch her into being a man completely, and she's not an extreme of anything. She just a lovely person who is very cerebral. She's not violent. She doesn't have to open a jar of pickles. When she stands in front of the krill and she orders them to do their piss test, I just died laughing. It was just so hilarious. You can just imagine her working on an oil rig in Texas or up here in Alberta and just walking over to the guys and being like, all right, guys.
Oh my gosh.
Anyways,
if they do a time travel episode, she has to do that.
Yeah, I think that she's wonderful. I think it was really cool to show that a young woman like Alara could be thrust into a really super important position where there were a lot of risks and high stakes, and it showed that women can do that. And even if you're young, you don't have to be an old lion. It's okay to believe in yourself. Young women can still do that kind of stuff. But then when we switched into Tall, I think we gave a slap back to those people who were being kind of mean to the Orville ladies.
Well, those people exist.
Yeah, they've written some pretty harsh articles. Like I said, as a social scientist,
really?
I read 6 misogynistic messages from the Orville that was published, shortly after the first season aired.
Is that the title?
That is so shocking. That is so shocking, given so many different aspects of what is the absolute opposite of misogynist about that show.
Yes, I totally feel the same way. But before we get into that, because I would love to talk about that, because we have, 5 really strong women and a very diplomatic host who is hosting us, where I think that we can talk about these 6 points if you guys feel comfortable talking about them, because I think they're juicy and I think it's kind of fun to get everybody's perspectives. But before we go any further, can I please just say that there is an unsung hero of the Orville that I think is just a totally cool person. She reminds me of Magel, and I just love that she's doing what she's doing, and that is Rachel McFarlane. She is doing the voice of the Orville computer, and that's, of course, Seth's sister. So, unsung hero, there is a woman on the show who is, anyways, I just wanted to give
have a fan theory that
Thanks
she's
for pointing that out.
secretly into Gordon.
Anyway.
That the character of the ship is into Gordon.
So if you guys
aren't we all secretly into Gordon?
No, I'm not.
I'm not secretly into him. I'm 100% in front of everybody into him. He's how, like, if I was on the Orville, I would basically be Gordon.
Yeah.
The P corner.
Yeah.
I can't totally get on board with that just because I've done so many diapers over the
P
years.
corner is just wrong in all sorts of ways. I mean, get a cup.
There were all those cases around. Like, why not have like the P case, the designated container? Come on,
the P case, have a poo case. Do
maybe
you
it in a designated corner, but still.
Oh gosh.
No, you're missing the point.
If you guys want to get into it, I have 6 points that I think are very important.
Yes, please, Raquel. Yes, go ahead. Why don't you guide us through those
Let's
6?
hear 'em.
Why don't you guide us through a debate?
So, first of all, if anybody would like to look up the article and engage with it fully beyond the talking points, it's called 6 Misogynistic Messages from the Orville, if you can believe it. And the date is December 9th, 2017, and it's written by Oren Ashkenazi.
He just painted a target on some poor sap's back.
Well, I mean, his name is linked. He's got the target on his own back just by publishing.
I think that when you're going to go after a show and you're going to do it this viciously, I think it's okay if a panel of women clap back and women actually say how we feel. Because, I completely agree with Katie. Like, I'm somebody who believes that we don't have to be extremes, that women and men exist on a continuum. Mm-hmm. Our personalities can be any number of things. We have 6'5" women who could be firefighters and lead us out of a burning building. And then we also have very feminine women. The last time I checked, the average height of an American woman is only 5'3". I mean, you're also tiny and cute and adorable. We're lots of things is what I'm saying. Okay, so first point, ladies, and let's dig into it. All right? Mediocre men are better than talented women. And this author says that it's proof that because Ed Mercer's career is, thank you, PJ. Because Ed Mercer's career is so lukewarm and pathetic, that the fact that Kelly takes a back seat to him shows that you have to be incredible and mediocre men will still beat you. And so I would like the panel to think about this for a second, or maybe you can just talk it through and figure out where you stand. But what are your thoughts, panel? As Power Women Wednesday, let's give our thoughts.
I think somebody wasn't paying attention when Kelly set it up for him to get that job. Like, he didn't get that job because he's a man. He got the job because she set it up with her connect. Her being amazing is how he even got the job.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is they have to take into account, like, it could be like Riker, where they don't want the command necessarily yet. And so she sees there's this opening. She sees Ed's down on his luck. She is using her respect that they have for her to say, hey, put your faith in me into him. Like,
and she knows how awesome she is. She knows that when she is ready to take command someplace, it'll friggin' happen.
Exactly.
Okay, and can I just fuel this a little bit more and give you a little another little nugget to claw at?
Sure.
What do you guys think of this notion that you always have to be in a superior role to a man in order to be considered equally as powerful? Because I will tell you that my undergraduate degree and my master's degree are in communications and technology, and a large portion of that has to do with editing. And I can tell you that it has absolutely nothing to do with my gender, that I don't like being in the face of something. I actually truly enjoy being in a supportive role. I especially love supporting authors, be them men or women. So I get a huge charge from standing on the side of the stage, showing how much I can pump up a star. I'm just wondering what you guys think about. Do you have to own the center of the stage in order to be powerful, or are there lots of roles, and are we oversimplifying power by just saying spotlight equals power?
Well, I don't even think that's I don't even think in this particular case that's even a question. I mean, because I did answer that sort of when I talked about Kelly. She's not in a supportive role. She didn't.
Yeah.
She's in an apologetic one. Ed got that job. The only reason why she used was so that she could what she screwed up. Ed was working overtime to try to get a command position to better their marriage, to because that's what he wanted. That was his and had a meltdown over the divorce. Her that inspiration, and she cheated on him for crying out loud. All right, apologetic role. She went to get him the command so that she could make good what she in the first place. This has nothing to do with who is in control or who's better or who is worse. Kelly is trying to help Ed be better because she screwed him up place. So I'm actually very triggered by this whole number, and it really doesn't happen at all, but it has to do with consequence and the fact that they're compartmentalizing and they're and they're just doing this feed. So, sorry everybody, I'm angry about this.
No worries. It's totally,
that's why I'm bringing it up. I think it's great.
It's totally legitimate to be angry about that.
I just thought of something.
Fire back, right? If somebody fires a photon torpedo across your bow, you're allowed to fire back. You're allowed to go,
Because like with all these
people share their belief, right?
With all these situations, I always try and I look at the other side of the coin, because I know there's a good chance that sometimes I'm on the wrong side of the coin. So I'm looking at the other side of it. What if Kelly was the one to get command? Then they would be saying the only reason she got her ship is because a man said she should have it.
Yeah.
So either way this person would look at it, they would see that it was misogynistic.
Yeah. If you were, you find exactly what you're looking for. And in terms of like the question that Raquel was posing before about, do you have to have that superior power to be equal? Equality is like power equality is not about who has the higher place in a power structure. It's about just owning where you are at, knowing that that is the right spot for you, and just leaning into your strengths. We are all so different as human beings. We all have such incredible strengths, and in really good storytelling, that is just as true of the characters. The characters get along best when they're able to lean into their own strengths and then challenge each other's weaknesses so that they continue to develop.
I completely agree.
Freaking
why do men equate glory with success? That's what I would like to know. It has to do with glory and purity rather than if I look like I'm working and people say I'm working, well, then I must be the greatest man alive. This is an overall arcing problem from the male perspective, in my opinion.
Well, when we look at Spock isn't in the spotlight. Spock is in the supporting role, and it's very clear who's superior.
Yeah.
So I'm just, as an editor,
even in the mirror universe, like I don't want a mutiny. I want to be in this position.
Yes.
That's why I protect the captain.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess what I'm saying is that I philosophically agree with you, Rose, and I agree with your same philosophical reasons. I just think that if you look at Spock, you don't need to claim the center of the stage to be in charge, to be brilliant, to be appreciated, to own your own space, and to be phenomenal at it. So I think if we're just going to create I don't think that we're doing anything that's good for women. I just think that we're just clawing our way to the top of the poop pile, right? King of Turd Island, you know, who I think is in mind, like actually being good at what you're good at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did a dude write this article?
Dare I ask what number 2 is?
Number 2 is more
male
number
name.
2.
If I can add just one thing, ladies,
Yes.
I do think there's places in society or situations in society where some people think that mediocre men are better than a talented woman for whatever reason.
Mhm.
And it's really too bad that they're trying to apply this to very much the same way as it's being done on other shows. They're trying to apply it to the Orville, but it doesn't fit.
Yeah.
It just makes no sense.
Yeah, I agree.
It's kind of like
It's
taking
not-
a piece from a puzzle and trying to put it with another one, and it just won't go in. And that's the good thing about it.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Go on to number 2, Raquel. You're doing
All
a
right.
great job.
Here we go.
It's all in your
Let's
hands.
do it. Here's something that Katie and I really dislike because, like her and I, we like to be very fair. Her and I like to be diplomatic. So, number 2,
You
strong,
haven't seen me when I'm angry.
strong women are scary. Strong women are scary, evil, bad. Urgh.
Only if you make them that way.
Do you have to be scary and horrible and psychotic in order to be strong?
No.
No. No, I agree, but this is for the panel to talk about. Guys, men want to hear what we have to say about these issues. They fired across our bow. We
Strong
are
women
Orville
are
Nation.
scary. Oh,
Let's
God.
talk about it.
Yeah, and also look at the
Mhm.
example that they've chosen.
Okay,
Look at who they've chosen.
Body
Men
posture, too.
are scared. Strong women
She's like
appear
a
so
mouse.
way perverts. That's my
Like, they do have as a topic in her character development when she's like trying to date on the Orville that some guys are intimidated by the fact that she's physically stronger, but that's a species thing.
was gonna
That's
say,
not a gender thing.
I was gonna say, if I was going after one of the guys, I'd be like, okay, bud.
Well, I'm a little intimidated now, to be honest. But
Oh, PJ, this is great.
Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
gosh. No, it's because there's different kinds of strong. There's physically strong, there's mentally
Yeah.
strong, there's comedically strong. Like you can't, it's like generalizing all media. Is it social media? Is it local, national? Like strong. Where are your strengths at? You can't just say you're strong.
Yeah.
And there's something else interesting happening in this article as well that I think is really rather silly as a person who teaches rhetoric, and that is that the author says that you would never see Worf encountering any difficulties dating women because of his strength. And as we all know, this is absolute and complete poppycock. Of course, Worf encountered problems getting dates because of his strength and because of his race, especially because sexual intercourse is like some serious whips and chains. I mean, only Jadzia could take him on, and Jadzia kicked his butt. I mean, like, if you look at this, I can't believe that this person actually put that Worf couldn't get a date, that there would be no way anyone would say that Worf couldn't get a date because of his enormous muscles. This is obviously somebody who has never watched Star Trek.
And also someone who thinks that men having muscles is why women date men. Like, no, sweetie. There's so many reasons you're attracted to a person. It's not just the fact that they got these big, beautiful muscles. You care about them as a person. Actually, personally, I actually have a kind of it's a borderline phobia when I meet somebody who is, I can tell they're attracted to me, but I can also tell that they may be 1 or 2 weight classes larger than me. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's fat or muscle. If you're larger than me, there's a tripwire in my brain that goes, if you're in bed and they turn out to be an asshole, they could smother you to death.
Did you
And
have
I'm
an
out.
older sibling who
Who sat
may
on
have,
me?
like,
Yes,
sat
I
on you?
did.
That explains
She
it.
sat on me, and I have
Okay.
scoliosis, and we didn't know it at the time, and it would like cut off my breathing. It was terrible.
Oh, God.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Terrible.
The light
Oh.
and dark of Alara's is that she is physically strong, but she is intellectual. Okay, I think this was written into the highlighted freaking episode with this whole fear thing. So who is she or who is this writer to say that Alara is actually in, because Alara isn't. She's just physically strong. And
So
are actually not his strength, but security.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And also
Okay.
that insecurity acting then as like self-sabotage, that she is overly concerned with her physical strength and projecting onto them that they're intimidated by the strength, and just not realizing the conflict that she's creating on her end, regardless of what conflict is going on their end.
Please excuse me, everyone. AVP has asked a question, and I just want to address the chat. AVP, if you could please look at the screen cap that PJ has put up, you'll see that it says mythcreants.com, so a play on myth and miscreants. And the author is Oren Ashkenazi. Oren Ashkenazi.
He's gonna open up his Twitter and be like,
So
what
June
just
wrote this-
happened?
Blow up your Twitter.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so can we move on from this one? Has everybody expressed themselves? I'm having a little bit of a trouble hearing Kathia. So I'm not too sure, but I just I've already logged out and logged back in. So I hope that I'm not talking over her and that everybody got to express their feelings. Do you guys want to move on to number
Raquel,
3?
Kathia has a little bit of a lag. just so
Okay,
you know.
good. Good, it's not me.
It's technology.
Yeah, technology, dun, dun, dun. And, you know, Kathia is so articulate and has such wonderfully constructed ideas to share that I feel so bad that I can't hear her. She sounds like she's in like a fishbowl, and it's so sad. I love you, Kathia, sorry.
Is that really number 3?
Yes, yes! This is why
that's
the article made
funny.
me so mad, Katie. Harassment is funny. Can we address this, Orville Nation?
Wait, let
People
me
in
just
the
say
chat.
right off the bat. Yafet brings her flowers and sings songs to her. He's trying. He's not harassing. I feel bad for Yafet.
Genuinely,
There
he's
are
genuinely trying.
times that his humor crosses the line, but it's always immediately addressed in the scene, and then he's like, okay, and he pulls back. He's respectful when people bring up something upsets them. He is respectful and pulls back, and
Thank you, Rose.
he does try to woo, and he's more socially awkward than anything else. He's not actually a skis.
Okay, can I interrupt everyone for 1 second? Because I think this is very vital, because we talked about this last week. And I would like to address this as somebody who studies this for a living and get your guys' feedback. But I think that it's very important to address this, because I think some people are not only being overly sensitive, but I think they're kind of twisting the reality between the sexes, no matter how you identify, no matter what gender you identify. So I was wondering if it would be okay if we could please get PJ to take a sip of water and just read us this one little snippet. It's very short, but if he could read that for Orville Nation, it is so preposterous. Chat, I want you to listen up to this and maybe take some notes and give us your thoughts. And then the panel will talk about it, and we'd like to talk about it with you. So chat, get in there with your comments as well.
I'll just let you know it's not water though. But
is it wine? Ooh, I love Spain.
Okay. Dr. Finn, the ship's chief medical officer, is easily the show's best character. A lot that comes from Penny Johnson-Gerald's acting, but the character is also well written. Okay, so he's complimenting. He or she is complimenting. She's competent in a story where competence is in short supply. Okay.
What?
There goes the compliments.
Whoa.
She's supportive of her crewmates.
Okay.
There's a backhand.
And she doesn't take
Guff.
or ferment. Guff, is that right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Guff is a word. It means poop.
Oh, it does. Okay.
Like heck or poop.
Okay. She even has a story about being a badass mom. What's not to like? Unfortunately, many of Finn's scenes are ruined by a slime ball named Yaphet. That's not a joke. He's actually a ball of slime. I'm sure the writers thought
Speciest.
that was funny. Speciest. There you go, Katie. You see, Yaphet is into Finn, which is fine, but he continues to make overtures long after she's told him she's not interested, which is not fine. Okay. By the way, let me just say that the human species would not propagate if men and women were super, super ultra correct to one another.
Oh yeah,
And,
my grandma and Grandpa Wilson, it never would have happened.
Yeah.
Never. That's a hilarious story.
And also, to echo and amplify that sentiment, we're not splitting hairs here and excusing sexual abuse.
Oh no.
What we're trying to say is that what they are attempting to define as sexual abuse is not in agreement by everyone, because sexual overture for one person can be sexual harassment, and for another person it can just be some awkward guy who's never dated somebody before, and you're like, yeah, okay, I'll go for coffee with you, you're kind of cute and don't know how to do this. So it's unilaterally speaking for every single gender, every single person, every single race, every single ethnicity, every single religion that I think is at issue here. It's what is upsetting people. So PJ, I'm going to totally let you off the hook. And can I get you to please skip to, this is obviously sexual harassment. Go back up.
Okay.
Yeah. Read this paragraph.
This is, can I read the paragraph before just to understand the context? Okay.
Yeah.
This is I'm going to start reading right here. This is a classic example of the persistent suitor trope. The idea that it's romantic for a man to keep propositioning a woman even after she said no. Supposedly, this demonstrates how devoted he is to her. It's creepy at the best of times, but the Orville takes it on step further. It's one step further. Yaphet goes beyond not taking a hint. His advances are so blatantly sexual, they wouldn't be appropriate in the workplace, even if Finn accepted them. This is obviously sexual harassment. You don't need a degree in feminist theory to understand why saying, I want to have sex with you to someone over and over again isn't okay. And
Didn't
yet,
know that was a direct quote.
Yeah, it is. I guess it is. And yet, these scenes are played for laughs. It's funny how Yaphet won't take no for an answer, interrupting Finn while she works and possibly making her feel unsafe. We're even supposed to feel a little sorry for Yaphet because Finn keeps turning him down. Okay.
And I double checked this, like when you look at the year that it was posted, like I think they really just saw only a couple of episodes and so didn't see more of Yaphet being like not at all on Finn's case.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the persistence thing is people need to be told, do actually need to hear a thing a couple of times for it to register, because that's what the reticulating activation system of the brain requires for pattern recognition.
Well, I think one of the things was
Not
that stuck out.
just targeted Dr. Finn. He's also members of the other female members of the crew. It is just that tropey creep. He's looking for love, human, and this isn't this isn't meant to be. He's not. He's gelatinous. He's, you know. So this paragraph here actually quite ridiculous in my opinion.
I think one thing that sticks out to me is that it's like when she says, "No, I'm not interested," or "You need to get out," he does respect that he gets out. He keeps coming back, of course, which some could see as harassment.
Yeah.
But I think the thing to keep in mind, at least from my point of view, everyone has a different point of view, but is that she is not intimidated by him. She doesn't show that she is physically uncomfortable with it. She shows more mild annoyance than anything. I think if she just came out and said, "Listen, I feel like this is harassment. You need to stop." I think he would stop.
Yeah.
I think it's got like more of an annoyance than it is an actual harassment.
Yeah, harassment is very much in the eye of the beholder. It's somebody starts flirting and the other person says, "Don't do this because I don't like it," or even is okay tolerating it because even if it's annoying, it can be flattering, even though you're never acting on it. It's just that becomes their banter where he flirts and she shuts him down and they're both generally cool with it. That's something that friends do sometimes. It's really particular to the relationship and the context.
Exactly.
And so could they have played the scene where it was sexual harassment? Yes. Did they do it that way? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just add to that. They're both. Well, I'm not sure he's considered a senior officer, but he was second in command for engineering, and so they're both more of the veteran officers. They're a small, you know, they're supposed to know each other. There is a relationship, a friend to friend relationship with Yaphet and Dr. Finn. So they're, you know, just to give context. Anyway.
Yeah.
Can I just say one thing that I would like for the chat to think about and for the panel to think about? And it's a rhetorical question because I'd like you to sort of think about it first. But is the job of television, is the job of science fiction to give you moral instruction exclusively? Or is it okay to leave it up to you what you think and perhaps even have some suspension of belief? Is it okay for TV to be as flawed as real life? Or do we need television to be a perfectly sculpted, didactic message that tells us what we need to think and feel and how to behave in the real world? What do you think about that, the chat and the panel?
Good question.
Yeah. It depends on the person, honestly,
Can't
I
be
think.
done.
Because then
I don't think it's something that's
Sorry, Katie, go
prescriptive
ahead.
across all of science fiction. I think some writers are going to write based off just whatever their philosophy is. And I happen to appreciate science fiction where they're just leaving the questions open. They're leaving discussion open so that you're able to actually interact with the story and feel a deeper connection with it, because it's not something that's just being kind of jammed down your throat. Like, I don't know how many people here watch Hallmark movies. I am unabashedly a huge fan of that crap. And so there are so many movies where they're just like jamming the, like, whatever the moral is down your throat. It's like, you didn't actually put in the work to get to this moral. And I feel
what would you guys think of the idea? Like, for me, I guess, as a social scientist, I put more faith in society and human beings than perhaps our media does, because I think that people don't have to be infantilized. They don't have to be treated like children who require instruction when they're looking to art and entertainment.
Yeah.
And I want you guys to think about the idea that perhaps we could have a character who is a complete piece of crap, and we could look at that piece of crap and go, wow, is he ever a piece of crap?
Yeah.
And there's nothing we can do about it. And I find it odd that a large section
like Rick from Rick and Morty.
Well, I just find it odd that there is a large section of society that would like television shows now and film and art to be exclusively instructional about how you should behave sexually and gender-wise. And I'm just wondering what the chat and what the panel thinks about that.
Wasn't that what the golden age
Personally, I think
of
it's
children's literature was?
ridiculous because when we have such a spectrum, we have such a spectrum of culture, spectrum of color. We have such a spectrum of some of us are special needs, some of us are not. Are laborers, some of us are not. Blue collar. To reduce to an order and leave out the chaos is something that should never be done, because, and thing that I'm going to say, even bad stories, even bad characters, teens, even when they're to do so. Okay, and it's part of how we grow, we learn. We can't just all have one blanket of art or work, because then we have stagnation, because it's all the same all the time and owned by the same, doing the same thing and writing the same thing over and over again. Detrimental to human thought, human development. It's detrimental to humanity itself. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think it was, Tink brought up a great point with the you like all sides of the issue and let the people decide.
Yes,
and
Kate.
You have to show also that the characters that you love and follow, that they can be on the wrong side too.
Yeah,
I think the key thing is to show that in an age where it's all you vote in a straight ticket, one side or the other. It's like, okay, but are you actually listening, or are you in an echo chamber surrounded by other people who have similar thoughts? And so if you put that in a sci-fi envelope, it makes it easier for people to process, because it's out of your realm of reality. It's not as uncomfortable. And then, of course, you have that ability to show two sides that are both completely believing that they're right, but you also have to show that one is willing to look at the other person's thoughts.
Yeah.
And understand where they're coming from.
To listen, because Aristotle told us that it's the mark of an educated mind to be able to entertain a thought without embracing it. So you can take something in, you can imbibe it, and then you can make a judgment about it, or you can even reserve judgment. I mean, I'm like that. I'm an agnostic. I can't even make up my mind of what I believe about the great perhaps. So I really appreciate your comments, Katie, and I completely agree. I think that we don't have to decide in public. And I think that I agree with Rose, and her and I are always in agreement on this. I think it's much more important to be thought-provoking and to tickle somebody's brain to say, here are all the sides. Tink is right about that. What do you think about that? You ruminate over that. And we see that in the script about a girl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to say something, if you don't mind, about this comment that Cryptic wrote about Claire being under the influence of that alien pheromone.
Yeah, I was going to.
And I know that Rose has commented before on this in a different light, but I just wanted to say that if you look at it from a different point of view, if she's horny because she has been under the influence of an alien pheromone, she just sees Yaphet as a piece of meat, and she's. So, I mean, not assaulted. Assaulted is too strong.
And he doesn't know that he has been imbibed with this substance when he made contact with that alien. He didn't know about their pheromones yet. He just thought, oh, the flirting has worked, apparently. So he had no reason there was nothing to indicate to him that she was under the influence. And I don't think Yaphet would have acted if she was under the influence. He seems like the kind of guy who wants you fully engaged.
Exactly. He wants you as you.
Yes.
And I think that's another big difference from Yaphet being a sexual predator to Yaphet just being an annoying guy who's creepy sometimes.
Yeah, you can see it when he gets shy when she's in his quarters and talking about what she wants from him. He's excited, but he's also shy of it because it's such a 180 from where they were before.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I was going to bring this up, Cryptic Charm, because when I was reading some very recent comments on Twitter about Yaphet being a sexual predator and these other things that people are saying on Twitter, I felt completely the same way. And I actually think that Seth may have been teaching us a little bit of a lesson on the fact that women are also capable of objectifying men. We are capable of using men for sex. We are not entirely innocent. We don't always need to be rescued. And sometimes we are the aggressor. And I like that idea because I regularly objectify men. You know what I mean? Like Bjorn Ironside is, that is just eye candy for me. And I'm going to be ridiculous. And you might not even want to sit at the same table as me. I'm that obnoxious.
Let me just say, Raquel, from a sociologist point of view, from a psychologist and sociologist point of view, it's probably the women probably tend to make the decision whether something goes forward or doesn't in general. Is it it's a yes or a no?
Ideally. Permission is something that happens with a woman's voice, not a man's thoughts. So that's very important to say. But I do agree with you, PJ. For men that understand women ideally, and aren't sexual predators, of course, yes, it is the woman who owns the traffic light. Look, it's red today. It's yellow. So maybe while I'm cooking supper, you can get a little, happy, or green. Let's put supper on the back burner for half an hour. Let's go do it. So I agree. But the thing is that PJ is talking about social science, and I'm talking about social science. This is about the fact that it's not good for society to dedicate all of our art and entertainment towards educating people who don't understand and who aren't the norm. Because then what we end up doing is accentuating that abuse. And then we forget to celebrate the people who are, quote unquote, I hate to use this term, but I'm just going to use it because we're in a chat with different levels of education, but normal. So you're just your garden average variety person, right?
Yeah.
I do like being chased, and I do like a guy who's 6'5" and muscly, and come on.
There's like one or two guys in the comments who are just like, ooh.
Yeah, I'm gonna win.
I like a balance to the case. I like a little bit of a dance to it.
I whistle at guys, and
as Orville fans are.
I never get objectified, DJ.
Are we really? Well, I mean, so really going to even entertain the idea Claire needed help or didn't? I mean, the whole idea that Claire protect is a joke,
Yeah, and even
problem with Yaphet.
It's not giving her enough credit, I think, because at least
exactly, Kitty.
As a person who's hopeful for the future, as hard as that freaking is, that once you get to that stage in society where men and women are completely like level and equal.
Yeah.
Why would it be any harder for a guy to stop sexual harassment than a woman would be to stop sexual harassment?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so that's another thing with like the person who wrote the article probably doesn't understand the full context of the show, is that both the men and the women, they are on a ship, a very small ship, and are friends with the commanding officers. All they have to do is say the word and an investigation is launched.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And
also, you're going to be very careful about the lines. You're going to be very cognizant of it because you're all neighbors, and because it is, even though there's like 300-400 people on the ship, they're all living on the ship. Those are all your neighbors, and you all know everyone. I live Providence, Rhode Island.
That
it calls itself a city, but it's small. I think I know everybody
for decades. I mean, sexual harassment on holy cow, that's serious stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, like I said, if Claire really thought, the whole idea of that point just ridiculous from so many points of view. We should probably move on to the next point.
They said there's still three more.
I do want to ask. I do want to ask Anna. I didn't hear your take on the Yaphet Finn relationship or interaction.
Oh well. I mean, it was so interesting listening to you guys. I mean, I was like, yeah, definitely, yeah, I agree, definitely, yeah, okay. I like everything you said. I was like, yep, 100% behind you. So yeah, I'm with you guys. I mean, Yafid is a weird guy, is a weird blob, but as you said, everything that it just was in the story implemented it was too complicated to really just have it black and white. So
yeah,
I definitely agree with you. Yeah, I mean, the thing they wrote in the article, I have to really read everything tomorrow, but so far it's really strange. I mean,
I like that you're crinkling up your nose. That means that it's like basically like a dirty nappy. You're just smelling it. You already look disgusted. We love you,
Yeah.
Anna.
It's really not a nice article so far.
No,
but I really like to read like these articles. So I don't know. I will read it tomorrow.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Now, Raquel, please tell me they're not saying that Captain Mercer is abusive towards Kelly in this number 4.
That is what they're talking about.
You got to be kidding me.
If you want,
he loves her.
Well, this is. I think that. This is what I mean about these sort of over-the-top ideas that send people to these emotional and political peripheries where there are no gray areas and everyone must act like the ideal, pristine, sort of almost saintly figure whenever you go near sex, sexuality, or any type of erotic content, and it's really over the top. Can I ask anyone in the chat, especially the women, and the women on the panel, do you feel that Ed Mercer's behavior towards Kelly Grayson was abusive, emotionally abusive?
I will touch on that in just a second. PJ, check the private chat real quick.
Yeah, you got to go or something. Sorry.
Not me. No, you're good. No,
sorry.
it depends. Like, I mean, okay, someone else take it. I have to collect my thoughts. All right.
Let me just say, Anna, I'm sorry I didn't see the private chat. If
no
I know it's very late.
Problem.
Please feel free to go. I'm sorry.
Thank you for to say my.
Oh
dear.
I'm sorry.
Oh,
there you are. Sorry. Go ahead.
No problem. Yeah. Oh wow, I'm huge. Okay. Yeah. Definitely. Thank you so much for inviting me to the panel. It was very interesting. I mean, I was like, oh wow, that's so interesting, you guys, and to hear everyone's take on this, especially if people are here who actually studied this or still studying. It's definitely interesting, and yeah, I'm so far with you guys on all the points. And yeah, I need to watch this tomorrow. I mean, I want to see what you guys think of this. But yeah.
Well, Anna, thank you so much. I know it's very late in Switzerland, so thank you, and you are always welcome back.
It's a bit late.
Thank you so much.
1 a.m.
Holy cow!
Thank you for sticking with us so long.
Yeah, no problem. No
Bye,
problem.
Anna.
Bye.
Thank you.
Good night. Thank
Sweet
you.
dreams.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
So so we get back to this cheating justifies abuse. Now, I don't feel, once again, I think that this is really poor rhetoric because we need to ask ourselves, first of all, does the opening statement, has it already been proven? And it hasn't. I personally don't feel that what you were watching on television transpire between Ed and Kelly can be characterized as misogynistic male abuse of a woman.
Yeah.
And so the word abuse is already troublesome because we're already now accepting this idea that Ed is abusive and misogynistically abusive. And I want to inform everyone, because I don't like to play with words. I think words must be exacting. And it's very important that everyone know that misogynistic does not mean that a guy is saying something that's sexist or doing something sexist. Misogynistic is a very powerful and scary word. It means that the man hates, H-A-T-E-S, hates women. And so, when we see this misogynistic abuse. So we're seeing hateful abuse. Now, I'm just wondering, chat and panel, do you think that what's transpiring between this couple could be characterized as something that would be hate and abuse?
I personally don't. And I saw someone in the chat mention that if somebody had said, quote, if anybody's being abused, she is abusing him, end quote. And what I saw in terms of their negative behavior towards each other, you saw he was still hurt when he was interacting with her, and he was still taking out those feelings on her a little bit. But that doesn't mean what he was doing was abusive, and it doesn't mean that it was misogynist. It means that he was still processing those feelings of being hurt and betrayed by her. And then, they've been married. They have this really rich history with each other where they have a history of butting heads. And so they continue to butt heads moving forward. And he does have more of a playful, childlike, sometimes childish personality. And part of, I think, where their relationship may have gone awry in their history was that she ended up having to mother him to a certain extent. And so, she's going to be more frustrated with him than not frustrated with him. But I don't see either of them being abusive to each other ever. I just see them in sort of like what Buddhists refer to as habit energy of when they are upset, this is the person they default to expressing that upset towards.
Well, let's take your idea a little bit further, Rose. One of the things that the author says is that she does not find the energy and the exchange to, first she finds it to be abusive, but she says that it's unrealistic. I want to ask the chat and the panel, and of course you, Rose, and Katie, and Kathia, and PJ also, please, I'd like to hear what you have to say here. I think it's quite wonderful that you have two people that have divorced and have had what was a very acrimonious situation. It was very tumultuous, very toxic, terrible. She cheated on him. And yet here they are together on a ship. So when we take these ideas for granted, I would also like the chat and the panel to consider the fact that I think it's very adult and I think it's very 2020 to be able to have two people who divorced and had a bunch of really bad stuff happen to them coming together. Like Katie said earlier, that she went to bat for him, and and Kathia was saying this as well, to sort of mend these fences. I think it's all very adult. What do you guys think?
I will tell you what I think, but I have to do a conference call with my chief. Sorry.
Okay.
But no, I'll put that off because there is something I want to say about this. It's that if people want to read into it and read between the lines and write their own stuff in the margins to make it be like, yeah, look, he's being mentally abusive to her, not physically abusive, but he's like telling, like, he talks with his friends in bad manners and stuff like that. I mean, if you want to spin it that way, you're going to spin it that way. But if you look at their evolution from season 1 to season 2, and hopefully in season 3, you'll see that it was more of he was hurt, now he's healed. Whereas if it was abusive, it would be constant. There'd be no changing it. It would just keep happening.
Yeah.
Whereas with Ed, he heals over time. You see it come to a stop and a reversal. And that shows in that it's not abuse, because he's hurt. Yes, there's a difference between being hurt and being angry and being abusive.
Yeah.
And that line is a very gray line, but in my mind, it might not be in other people's, and that's totally fine. But in my mind, it was more of he was damaged, he was hurt, he wanted her to know how much he hurt him, and then he didn't hate her forever.
It's a redemption arc.
It's very dangerous to sort of throw the word abuse and misogynist around all day, because what you end up doing, I think, to a certain extent, is taking away the power of those words.
Yes!
Yeah.
We really encounter an abuser and we really encounter a misogynist, it carries no weight because people have just been throwing it around like it's salt and cheese, and everybody just says, oh yeah, let's relegate him to the deplorables box or whatever.
Yeah.
And this is why being articulate and precise in our language and being careful about how we use these words and this type of vocabulary, I think it's fundamental to us keeping communication open. And I'm like Katie. This is why I think Katie and I love Gene Roddenberry so much. Katie and I still have hope for the future. I still want the future to be good. I want the future to be good. I still want to try for good, right, Rose?
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I want from my science. Like, it's what I love about science fiction is when it paints a picture of a hopeful, happier. We figured out how to get along with each other, at least a little better than we are now.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, everybody on the panel and in the chat. We should welcome Drew. Drew came in during everyone talking, but this is Drew Taylor. He works for Bounding Into Comics. He's an author, a journalist, and he also has his own stream where he talks about science fiction. And he's a pretty wonderful person. So chat and panel, everybody say hello to Drew Taylor.
Hey, Drew.
Hey, Drew.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
On that note, I need to decide how we're going to work from home if we end up having to work from home. So
go, Katie. Thanks for joining us.
Live long and prosper.
We'll still be here if you want later.
You're awesome.
Okay, I might hop back on.
Okay, I'll see you in a bit.
Cool. Thanks, guys. Bye.
Wow. Raquel, that was like such a good introduction. I'm kind of blushing now. Much love though. It's like I was saying in the chat, I love the people when we all get together on PJ streams, because everybody's awesome. I love y'all, and that'll never change. I mean, you guys have always been there, been supportive, and had my back, and I can't say enough good things about all the ladies and gentlemen of this chat for sure, and the panel. So. Oh man!
Thanks for joining us, Drew. Now, I'm sorry, I may have missed Raquel because I was focusing on something else. Did you actually read any part of number 4?
No, we just started talking about it, and then everybody was like, "Whoa,
ridiculous!"
Do you want to go ahead and read it, Raquel?
Sure.
Or do you want me to read it, or?
In the Orville's backstory, Captain Mercer and Commander Grayson used to be married. They split up when she cheated on him, even though their relationship was already in trouble. Mercer was deeply hurt by Grayson violating his trust, as one might expect. Fast forward to the present, where they're serving on the same ship, and all the empathy you may have for Mercer quickly dries up. From the moment Grayson comes on board, Mercer is a friend, and his friend Molloy do everything they can to make her life hell. First, they talk about how awful she is to the rest of the bridge crew as her shuttle is docking. These are people she'll have to work with. And now their relationship is sabotaged before she even arrives. From there, they needle her about the affair every chance they get. Grayson can't get a word in without Mercer or his lackey. Lackey? Oh, Rose is not going to like that.
I do not.
Berating her about the time she cheated. Your lover is being called a lackey here.
I know.
Coming from a coworker, this would be mere harassment. But Mercer is Grayson's superior officer, which pushes this over the edge into abuse. It's reasonable for Mercer to be hurt by what Grayson did, and it's reasonable for him to want someone else as his XO. But it isn't reasonable for him to use his position of power to exact revenge. Revenge! Worse, Grayson is written to believe she deserves this treatment. In private, she talks about how bad she feels and says that having an affair is the worst thing a person can do. That's ridiculous. There are way worse things a person can do within the confines of a romantic relationship. Well, thank you for telling us that. I mean, seriously. Pretending that cheating is somehow worse than domestic violence. This is what I'm talking about, you guys. There's some salt and cheese. Anybody want some Parmesan and pepper and salt? The domestic violence plays directly into deeply misogynistic hate of women, ideas about men owning women's sexuality. Grayson's dialogue in these scenes is painful. It's hard to imagine a real person excusing such blatant hostility. Instead, Grayson's words are obviously contrived, crafted by writers who wanted a female character to excuse their male character's bad behavior.
Drew is dying to say something.
Yikes!
Raquel, you oh God, you know what I'm thinking, girl. you know what I'm thinking. All right.
Well, attack the language first, because I want you guys to have really good rhetoric here when people are reading this and they're trying to think critically. I want you to think about things like violence, domestic violence, misogynistic. I want you to think about this very hyperbolic, inflammatory speech and ask yourselves, is this hate? Is this domestic violence? Is this abuse?
No, it absolutely isn't. And here's the thing, number one, this writer, and I could tell from this article it's like I put in the chat earlier. I would like to ask this writer, the last time he actually, this is a guy writing this article.
Yeah.
It's like, when's the last time you saw your testicles, dude? I mean, good Lord. Look, there's at no time is it, and I think that people think they have a pass to use language like this now. And it's like Raquel said earlier, it's being co-opted and twisted and taking away the power of the words. That's exactly what's happening here. This guy is a flat out virtue signaling simp. And, there's no other way to put it. That term male feminist that, these guys like to throw around, that this guy's trying to appeal to that crowd. I mean, he's a simp. That's the way like normal red-blooded straight males look at this guy. He's a simp. There's no other way to put it.
This is Peter Cry Wolf to me. It feels like,
exactly.
What happens when something, what happens when you really need to define abuse?
Well, yeah, you're exactly right, PJ, and that's what I'm saying.
How about not abuse? Let's get rid of that word abuse. And I just want to turn this to a woman. Let's turn this back to the vaginas.
I would like to spin on it if you don't mind, because I have a really great spin on this one.
Go ahead.
Share it.
And that is this writer, he's a male. How dare he take away my try to defend me? How feminine masculine? No, dude, this dude to write an article about misogyny, my voice taking away my female feminine to complain about or to shout it, my right to complain about misogyny. So now new spin on this. How dare? And so there's my spin on his negative spin.
No, it's obvious to me why this is a blog post, because no publication would hire this person to write. I mean, because seriously, who would? I mean, my goodness.
Like, is it upsetting that he and his best friend ran off their mouths to the crew? Yeah. Is that abuse? No. That's what two best friends who are continuously edging each other on as the one who was hurt is still processing their feelings does. I said it before. She is accustomed to his acting childish, and she feels bad because she put him in a position of like reverting basically to very childish behavior as part of his processing. It's and freaking lackey.
Rose, we would totally shit talk a guy who cheated on you before he got to work. I would be like
100%,
I can't believe that
100%
dirtbag.
shit
And
talk
you know
a
what?
cheater.
And you know what,
100%.
that's not domestic violence.
No.
That's calling a cheater and a dirtbag.
Exactly.
This is what I'm talking about giving the society this false idea that arts and entertainment has to be instructive, and that all the people that are involved with that arts and entertainment must be very saintly, especially when it comes to any type of sexuality or erotic behavior. They must be saintly, and they must at all times exhibit model behavior, or it is literally called domestic violence.
But that is so fucking boring. This is why I love the redemption arcs. I love people who are flawed and they're working through it and they're figuring things out. Like, you call a cheater, you run your mouth. Everybody does it. Is it the most mature way to handle it? No, but it's completely reasonable. It makes sense. You're just like, oh yeah, you're pissed because they cheated.
Yeah.
All right, so you're running your mouth.
Let me say one thing, guys, that I want to just point out. Sometimes for one of the strategies for growth that small blogs have is that they do provocative pieces in order to get people to review their pieces on YouTube, like we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
I guess in a way we got baited, right, PJ?
That depends. That depends on whether he was a simp, as you said, or is actually trying to bait people, as PJ says. Because if he is trying to bait people, then whatever attention he gets, but even if it's negative, he'll be able to handle it. But if he is a simp, he'll be like, "What? No, what? I can write a thing to take this back."
I've looked this over, guys. Let me just say, I looked this over, and this is obviously meant to grab attention.
It is, but you know what? It is, because if you go in the Orville chats, or not the Orville chats, but if you go on Twitter, you're actually seeing, and this is why I brought this up, you're actually seeing people responding that Yaphet is a sexual abuser. So, I mean, these blogs work, not just on streamers who want to tear it apart, but it's working in disseminating that messaging throughout the fan
community. You're right, Raquel. Yeah.
It's like, wow, like I actually saw 3 people last week call Yaphet like a rapist and a sexual abuser. I was like, dude, it's Slimer. It's Saturday Night Live Slimer. Relax. Like, what are you saying?
And like even after all of that, they had that moment where he talks to Dr. Finn about the whole pheromone misunderstanding thing. Like, he checks in with her because he knows that wasn't totally above board. He didn't want it that way, and he would have never hurt her that way intentionally. So like, the episode really brings up the question of like having to, how you pay attention to your partner and how consent works, but it also talks about how it gets you thinking about really owning up to what you know was your side of things, and knowing that when you reach a line, you're done, and you stop. And it was so no. I want a Yaphet centered episode.
Yeah, and I would just like to point out too that if you go on Google, you'll actually find a lot of these articles starting to pop up saying that Seth MacFarlane has no right to talk about these issues, and that he's offending people. And, you know, it's like I said to PJ when I first started coming and visiting his show, you know, I appreciate that he's actually doing this in a way that not explosive.
Yeah.
My impression of it was actually like, oh wow, we get to talk about this and nobody's going to hate each other.
Yes.
And nobody's going to talk from a political silo. And then you go on Google and you start looking up the critics' reviews of the Orville, and they're slicing and dicing this guy, telling him he has no right to say this. Please tell me, chat, why Seth isn't allowed to write these stories, but this guy who describes himself as an orange old man, or whatever however Oren describes himself. Why is it
a grumpy old man whose physical age hasn't quite caught up with him?
Yeah, so
he's a young guy. He's obviously
a young guy.
Yeah,
no, he is.
No, there's a picture of him. I see it.
Yeah, but I guess my big thing is that critics are tearing this show apart, and bloggers are starting to disseminate this message through Twitter and through social media that the Orville is negative. And I'm here to say, whoa, slow your frackin' roll, as they say.
Raquel, I do appreciate you bringing this content, because it is a disservice to publish certain things, and this is obviously a disservice to society.
Yeah. I mean, seriously, if you're going to write an article, and even try to provoke thought in people, using the typical extremist virtue signaling style is not going to win you, objective reading. All it is going to pull in, other people that think on that extreme end of the spectrum and think somehow what you're saying is normal, and nothing of what this guy, the language he's using, things like that, is normal by any sense of the world. Sure, people are trying to make, speech like this and everything normalized, but it's not. Those of us that grew up before this was trying to be normalized, we know this. But unfortunately, there's another generation of people that falls for this, virtue signaling type of language. And again, it turns it into the cry wolf complex, because when there's actual victims of abuse out there, they can fall through the cracks much easier now because of stuff like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I have an adverse perspective on this. They have a right to write about this. The critics have a right to say what they have to say about the Orville being bad. Community turns around and says, "Screwed up Picard, you screwed up Star Wars, you screwed up Doctor Who," and the other end of that right now today. Okay, so if anything, it is a balancing act. We need prudence and temperance when we talk about these kinds of things. We also need grace and forgiveness. We're going to say stuff that they are not having conversations just like we're having now. And then the opposite also goes for we're going to be on YouTube and we're going to be saying things like, I hate this, or they should let it here, or misuse or not misuse so from perspective being don't agree. I don't feel writer has a lot of, because it's fair. There was not a lot of happening. It seems to me that and so that's what happened. Do I hate the guy? No, I don't hate the guy. I'm not going to be the chick that's going to drag him through the mud. I'm going to be the chick that says, "Hey, you've got the right to say what you want, and you have the right to ignore the funky butt." So there you go.
Yeah. And I just want to address this quote here. The ultra left wingers who can't stand it. So I know that I like to think from the conversations that I've had with you guys that we're all pretty moderate. From what I've seen of people online, when I look at your guys' profile, I've noticed that there has been some skewing on the conservative side. And I know for my part that I actually skew liberal, and I have extremely liberal friends. And I am reading this and I know this is not something one of my friends would written. My friends like this show. My friends see the value in this. They do know that it is forward thinking. It is hopeful thinking. It is provocative on whatever end of the spectrum you are, whatever part of the spectrum you are on in terms of your views, to be able to think and have a conversation moving forward. I don't actually see this as being legitimately liberal. I see this as just being incredibly targeted, and it is misusing terminology, and it is misusing it is misusing what is, essentially a hot button topic right now to, as PJ brought up, gain views, and as I can remember names goodly brought up.
Rose, let me say one more thing about what I said before.
Yeah.
I bet this kid, because he's a kid.
Yeah, he is.
Okay. I bet this kid is a big, huge Family Guy and American Dad fan. And he thought Seth is a big target to get clicks. And that's, to be honest, that's what it's more likely than not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that that's important to say because, I'm not totally gullible, but I do think that it's high time that we all talked about this on the show because I think this is gaining some steam in the family.
Raquel, don't get me wrong. Even though this kid did it even though he did it for his own reasons to get clicks, he's doing
contributing to a problem.
He's
talking about he's exacerbating a problem. It's totally legit content.
And the thing is that what ends up happening is a whole bunch of men say a whole bunch of stuff online. And then a whole bunch of men go on the streams and they talk about it. And then we just have men talking about women's issues. It's sort of like you have this panel of that wants to talk about women's rights. And, there are 25 men on the panel and not a single woman. So I just think it's really important that the vaginas come forward and go, you know what? Don't use my vagina for your clicks and hits. Yeah. And don't speak for my vagina. This is my vagina.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, Raquel, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Hell yeah, this is my vagina.
It's called a mouth for a reason. It can speak for itself.
You and I have become amazing friends. You've gotten to know me. Do you consider me a normal guy, or do you consider me a toxic asshole?
Oh wow, that's a pretty big extreme. I just think no, I think you're a really nice person, and I don't think that you're a toxic a-hole.
So I fall into the realm of a normal guy, like most of the male population, except when you get stuff like this, it demonizes men, and it absolutely casts a shadow of a generalization over males, and I absolutely take exception to that. I find a lot of fault with that because sure, are there guys out there that are very toxic? Yes, there are, absolutely, 100%, and they're not good individuals, but that is a very small percentage because most men are good, honorable guys. You take somebody like PG, take somebody like myself. Mm-hmm. We were raised the right way. We know how to appreciate women, but we're not sissies.
Well, I'm not, as a social scientist, I'm not comfortable with labels. I don't like using the word sissy, and I don't like calling guys pussies because, like Betty White said, balls are very weak. You blow on them and somebody gets a shiver and is scared and is bowls over. But pussies, they can take a pounding. That's the infamous Betty White. So
you can orgasm for 8 hours straight, then healthily spend upwards of 36 hours cranking out a brand new human life. Which is weaker? Which is weaker?
Pussies can take a pounding. Pussies can take a beating. So I don't agree with those. But I will say this. I think that what has happened to Star Trek In the beginning, I believe that Star Trek got torn to pieces over this issue. And when the Orville came out, the Orville was coming out more like Gene Roddenberry. And Rose and I always talk about this, that the Orville lets you decide. It isn't your marionette telling you what to think. And now what I'm seeing emerge is that online, the chatter is starting to go after Orville because the Orville fans are now very thick in Star Trek people. So you know, it's very easy to just sit back from your armchair and say all this negative stuff about the show. And I just don't think it's warranted here. And I also don't want to see the fandom torn apart. We have a really terrific fandom, and we have a very positive fandom. And, you know, we were actually... I think we were, I don't remember if it was a guest we had or if it was somebody in the chat, but somebody had actually said during the show that Yaphet was a sexual abuser. And that's what sort of set this off for me. I went and did a bunch of research on it, and I was like, oh no, are we going to try and cancel the Orville? Are we going to actually do this? Are we actually going to get people on social media to try and control this show and ruin it for us? Is this starting? Oh no, you're not starting. Raquel is going to smack you down where you are. You know? So that's my feeling, because I really believe in this show and I love it. And I think it's coming from a good place. And for people to turn it on its head, and not just this author. There are plenty of people out there talking just like this author. We don't have to focus on this author. But this author does put into a point form what people are starting to negatively go after the show for. And I don't appreciate it. And not only that, I don't think it's fair. I don't think what I've watched on TV is domestic violence, you guys. Whoa. And misogyny and no, relax. And Yaphet didn't rape anyone. Please settle down.
And Raquel, I would want to be clear that I think somebody has an echo. Does somebody take out their... Okay.
Somebody's headphones get unplugged.
Yeah, headphones. So Raquel, I do want to be clear. I do thank you for bringing this topic up, because actually I think it's about time, you know, we talked about it. So thank you. And I do want to ask...
When was this article written?
Let me just finish one thing, Drew. I do want to ask that nobody give this author the satisfaction of going and writing to him on Twitter and letting him know that we talked about it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
I just wondered when this was written.
December 2017.
It was written 17 when the show came out. But the thing is you have to understand that as an academic and as an intellectual, I always have to make sure that I cite my resources. So I probably could have got on the show today and just listed off these 6 things that people are talking about on social media negative about the Orville. But I thought it was a good idea to go and really unpack where these ideas are coming from. Because I also think that this person who wrote this article may be trying to come from a good place, you know, but it's misguided. And I think it's just too extreme. I think we've become too extreme. And I think it's time for everybody to just settle down. And unless somebody is clearly an abuser and a bad person, I think we should give people the benefit of the doubt. And I also want my art and entertainment to be something that is art and entertains me, that challenges me, that makes me laugh. Yes. I don't need somebody to give me a lesson, especially when most of the people in Hollywood quit school in grade 11. I don't need your instruction, but thanks.
Oh man. And also what you were saying about not going to extremes, when we go to extremes, even when people do make mistakes, it is so much harder for them to own up to those mistakes and heal from them or correct the mistake if we're just jumping down their throat and stopping them. And we're not actually... I can use the words goodly. Just when I can do this as a writer. It's a thing that I do sometimes. But just it was something that I was talking about with a friend on one of our socially distant walks this week, that trying to We had a scarf between us so that runners wouldn't go between us and get too close. And then we tugged on it instead of hugging at the end of our walk. It was great. But we were talking about how hard it is when you do know that you've made a mistake and you want to make it right, how hard it is even to say anything about it because you're so terrified of people just responding so intensely rather than humanly. Like I am responding humanly. I did something wrong and I'm trying to make it right. Like how can we have those dialogues and actually just do that together?
And I love doing it here because, to tell you the truth, I find that PJ is somebody who can host it in a way where it is more academic.
Yeah.
And it is incredibly important to me that we are diplomatic, that we cite our sources, that we don't say outlandish things, that we don't name call. But I think it's good to release the valve and let people know that it's okay to talk about it. But we're going to talk about all sides of it, and we're going to be positive about it, and we're not going to turn toxic or be cruel to one another. But it's very hard for people to get their feelings out in just a few characters.
Yeah.
And this is why I recruit only the most brilliant co-hosts.
I like how Rose threw her head back. Just
Exactly. He was saying speakers at
Feel
first.
the magic.
Exactly. And speakers. And speakers.
Thundercats are loose.
Exactly. You've got all these high intellectual women, PJ, and then you have me. I mean, I'm far, far, far outclassed.
Well, Drew, a mediocre man is better than a brilliant woman.
Exactly.
Apparently that's what Orville teaches.
Oh,
that's why we bring in Drew.
Rose, my friend Rose, would you please lead us in number 5? Let's talk about number 5.
Well, I've been reading ahead a little bit. I'm already very pissed.
Okay,
read this out loud. I will gladly read this out loud. When Mercer and Malloy aren't teaming up to make Grayson's life miserable, they have a different dynamic.
Wait. Where apart from the first episode, where is this happening?
I don't think this person watched very far into season 1. Remember, it's only it's like the first week of December that he wrote this in 2017.
With Star Trek. Same thing happened with Star Trek. It's happening all over again, but Orville Nation is going to stop it. We're going to stop it with facts, love, and positivity. Our fandom is not going to allow our show to be talked about like this. Give her
100. All right. The jerk and his disapproving friend. Malloy is constantly acting in ways unbecoming of an officer, with everything from rudeness to drinking on duty. On more than one occasion, his behavior crosses the line from simple rudeness into open sexism. Mercer's reaction to Malloy's antics is to cringe and occasionally offer a weak rebuke, but never actually do anything to prevent it. From a meta perspective, Malloy is a vehicle for the show's Family Guy-style humor, and so the writers can't have him restrained. This puts Mercer in a position of allowing bad behavior, even though he knows it's wrong, because calling his friend out would be too awkward. This attitude is a huge problem in real life. Too often, people in positions of privilege ignore their peers' bad behavior because it's the easy thing to do. They chuckle awkwardly at a coworker's sexist joke or stare down at their plate when a relative talks about the evils of immigration. Such silence emboldens bad actors and puts all the burden of stopping them on underprivileged groups.
Can I stop you 1 sec, Rose?
Yes.
Did anybody, when you were reading this, did anybody think about that that guy from the television who was on the bus with Trump that didn't say anything? He just went along.
Oh, when he was talking about grabbing women.
Yeah, when he was talking about grabbing women.
Yeah.
It just seems like he's taking stuff out of. This is what, 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that he's trying to draw people to this conclusion, especially by using university language here. He's trying to speak, in elevated diction, because he's trying to accuse the show of bro behavior and bullying. And I just don't see any bro behavior or bullying. And I don't want to interrupt Rose here, but while Rose is reading, you guys, I want you to think about the way that Kelly redresses Malloy and literally calls him a moron.
Yes.
In front of everyone. And this writer cannot hide behind the fact that, no, that was season 2, I didn't see it. That was the second episode. You turkey.
If you saw far enough for Yafid to be like a target of this article, you saw far enough for him to get called, for Gordon to get called a moron.
Yes, she's like, I'm sorry, but Gordo, you're an idiot, and I just want to prove to everyone that men are idiots. Like, she actually says that. Anyways, PJ and I interrupted you. Please continue.
Sorry, go ahead, Rose.
No worries. Mercer is a candied protagonist. Despite what we actually see on screen, the other characters constantly talk up what a good captain he is. The audience is supposed to like him and approve of his actions, unless given a specific reason not to. When Mercer ignores Malloy's bad behavior, the show endorses his choice, intentionally or otherwise. Anyone who's called out a peer in real life knows how hard it is. The last thing we need is a popular character like Mercer telling us that we don't actually have to. The show tells us it's no big deal when people like Malloy make others feel uncomfortable or unsafe. It's all a harmless joke. The worst part is that Mercer is Malloy's superior officer. It is literally Mercer's job to keep his crew from acting inappropriately. He has a position of power that few people in real life will ever have, and he does nothing with it.
I want to point out that Malloy is the guy who got his leg chopped off as a joke.
By a robot.
By Isaac, dressed as Mr. Potato.
I also want to
think
point
that
out to the
argument
writer.
here is that Gordon
Go
is
ahead, Jay.
Gordon is a wanker for a reason. I mean, the whole idea is that Gordon can do one thing well. That is the character.
Yes.
Thing in the ship. He is amazing at it. Okay? Everything else, he can't even dress himself. He has to go to find out how to dress appropriately for a date, for crying out loud, and then get dressed in zippers. Okay? Gordon is a
joke.
Gordon is a wanker for a reason.
So this gets into what Rose and I were saying. Thank you for that, Kathia. I read books. I read lots of books. I love reading, and you know what? I don't always have to love my characters.
Yeah.
And my characters don't always have to be dynamic. I'll tell you something. I've met a lot of people in my life because my ex and I used to own a nightclub. I've met a lot of Gordos in my life. And there isn't like some seething poet waiting behind the scenes to just spring forward at the first opportunity. No, he's just a guy just like Gordo. And this is what I'm saying. It's okay that our arts and entertainment reflect real life. Not everybody needs to be a brilliant, tortured genius. Some people could just be good at being a pilot and being a lousy human. Everybody grow the F up.
And he isn't even that lousy at being a human. He isn't even that lousy at being a human. This is just, okay, so, all right, whoever wrote this doesn't appreciate Gordo's brand of humor.
Heart. It's huge.
He has a gorgeous heart. Oh my God. I feel the feels for Gordon so hard. And he has immense growth over the show.
Yeah, he grows a whole leg.
He uses a whole leg. He literally regrows a leg. He inadvertently falls in love with the ship and doesn't even realize it. I swear to God, that's what happened. And I want them to explore that more. But he's
Can I stop you there for 1 second for 2 wags of a dog's tail?
Of course.
Do you believe that Rachel McFarlane was that manifestation and that we're going to explore that character further?
I want so badly for that to happen.
Pardon?
I don't know if it will happen, but I want so badly for it to happen because
it's plausible.
When he puts the phone into the computer and it has to create that simulation for him, he didn't tell it how far back to go in the calendar of the phone. The computer made that choice. I think the computer was expressing feelings for Gordon in choosing a period of the phone owner's life when she was single
Yeah.
And so then they're interacting through the simulation, and he didn't even know he was falling in love with an aspect of the computer, the only way it was able to communicate with him. I would love for them to explore that further. I would
Rachel
love it.
McFarland, if you are watching, we are willing.
I am shipping
you.
the ship and Gordo.
We are willing to love you the same way as we love
Well,
Mandel.
that TNG callback, wasn't that? I mean, because Riker fell in love with the girl on the holodeck.
Minuet.
Riker did that,
It was
and
just a callback.
also,
It was a
and
really
also
great
Geordi
callback.
did that. Geordi did that. He fell in love with the designer of like updates for the Enterprise. He had an episode with her hologram even, and fell in love with her. So, like, come on,
Jordy's in love with Windows Update.
A little bit. Geordi was, yeah. Oh man, yeah. So, but I love how Gordon is one of the most down to earth characters. Like when I think about if I was on the Orville, like just kind of it feels like someone I know would be on that ship. And so like fiction wise, Gordon's 100% huge crush for me because of his whole personality and his growth and just everything. And actually, I can actually give a real world example of somebody who's a lot like his character. Have any of you been listening? Have any of you heard of the Purd podcast Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum?
No.
Michael Rosenbaum, who played Lex Luthor on Smallville. He's got a podcast now, and he's just interviewing all of his famous friends and talking about like mental health stuff that they're dealing with, real life stuff that they're dealing with. And he's just having these really, really deeply personal conversations with them. But with each different friend, you know, he has a different dynamic with them, and you get to witness that. And so with some of them, like the jokes get so raunchy, and sometimes it's just, but it's still really deeply personal. And you get, I see all those things in Gordon. And so like, if you want like a real life version of Gordon, please check out Inside of You with Michael Rosenbaum, because it's such a good podcast and it's hilarious and it's, oh my God.
Thanks for that suggestion.
So good. It's so good. I can't recommend it enough.
Gordo, if you're watching, Rose really loves you. If you see her at a con, will you please?
I remember you from those 2 Frog Prince movies you made in the 80s.
So you'll have to ask her.
I will probably break out into that song if I see you in real life.
Get consent, Gordo, but please can you just Gordo her? You can't even be who you really are. You can't be who you really are. You have to Gordo her at the con.
Yes, Gordo me. Gordo all over me. I'm 100% on board with it.
Gordo all over me. Oh my God.
He's so good. Ugh.
Okay, well, centering us back on these points that people are making on Twitter and Facebook when they're criticizing one of our favorite shows here at Orville Nation, I want to ask the chat and the panel about this really bad rhetoric. Once again, we have this, okay? He has power that few regular people will ever have, because we're all real. I don't understand why he put real. Just average people will ever have, and he does nothing with it. Can I please say to Orville chat and to the panel that under no circumstances could anyone ever tell me that Captain Ed Mercer does nothing with his power. What a terrible thing to say. What an injustice to Cap Mercer, who has done nothing but use his power for good, even when it would get him in trouble.
Yes.
That's not a fair statement. That's not fair. Don't put that on your Twitter. Don't put that on your Facebook, people. Be nice.
And the few times you can make the argument that he doesn't act, the few times is because he knows there would be huge ramifications with the whole of the Union and the fleet and everything. And so he's like really having to figure out the balance of those things because he wants so badly to act. Oh, now.
Yeah. Okay, I think we should move on because it's getting pretty intense. I would like to just bring up number 6. And ladies, I would like the guys to take this, and I'll tell you why. I have 3 brothers, and they're like big, fun, wonderful. Well, 2 of my brothers are like the greatest men that I've ever known. I love them with all of my heart. And I can just tell you right now that we've been hearing a lot online about this issue. People are talking about this issue, and it's getting very heated, and a lot of people have feelings, and there's a lot of accusations and a lot of hyperbolic speech. But I think that it's okay to let the good guys talk about this, because I truly feel that the good guys don't feel this way. And maybe it's time that we start putting a little light on the good guys, and as much light as we put on the bad guys, so that we have a proper read of what's happening. We don't have to throw away the whole species, everyone.
Yeah.
There are good men too. PJ, would you lead us in number 6, and maybe Drew and you could riff off of each other and just talk about how you feel about men, about this issue?
Well, but yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at the title here. Rape is funny. I'm like, I'm not even like, I know where they're going with Derulio, but I mean, yeah, this is obviously clickbait to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm gonna go read it. I'll read it. You want me to read it?
Yeah, go ahead,
Okay.
PJ.
Remember that bit about Finn having sex with her harasser because of some alien pheromones? It turns out that was part of a bigger plot, which I take as proof against a loving God. Oh boy. In the episode Cupid's Dagger, an alien named Derulio comes on board to do some scientific work. Everything seems normal until both Mercer and Grayson start longing for sex with Derulio, despite both professing to dislike him. Even in a ship where dick jokes are the norm, the other officers realize something is wrong with this picture. After some investigating, Catan discovers that once a year, Derulio's species, Alara, Catan is Alara, Derulio's species goes into heat. At this time, they emit pheromones so powerful that anyone who touches their skin wants to have sex with them for days. This gross violation of a person's free will is played for laughs because isn't it hilarious when people are victimized? If this sounds familiar, it's by the way, let me just point out too that Ed also sleeps with Derulio.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have
Actually, he's the one who does sleep with Derulio.
Yeah, and then they have a threesome.
Mm-hmm.
They do?
Yeah, don't they? They
We
both come
talked
out
about it.
Yeah, they both come. Yeah, they both come out of the room at the same time, I think.
No, they don't.
No, I don't. I think it was just Ed.
Oh, was it just
No,
Ed?
they don't
Yeah, it was just
actually do it. It was just Ed. That's why I pressed, and she was drinking wine and eating ice cream with Claire. So the threesome never actually happened, but angry over the fact that Derulio was having sex with Ed.
Yeah.
So yeah, so on Twitter, everyone is calling this like date rape, or like they're saying that Kelly didn't actually cheat, and that this guy is a predator, and they should basically get rid of this character. So I think we should talk about this, guys.
Okay, interesting.
Does that?
By the way, Raquel, is
that
this
mean Kif from Futurama, Leela, and they had the baby thing? So does that also extend, because it's the same thing? That feud is this episode.
let me just say one thing, guys. Before Fordian leaves, Fordian Barber is going to be having a special stream with us tomorrow night. He is going to be he's going to be instructing in general males on how to self-groom during the isolation. And for the ladies, he's going to be giving them some tips for your hair as well. So thank you, Fordian. Good night. I'll see you tomorrow. Sorry, Kathy, did you finish what you were?
Well, yeah. I was just okay. I mean,
Yeah, there's just a little bit of a lag.
Yeah, I have trouble hearing what.
okay, all right. Well, I was okay. I have a satellite. It's very bad, and this is as good as it. So I was just pointing out that of the Orville is a episode that's very much like an episode of Futurama. Okay, and in that episode, Kif was going into heat, and his gloves came, and Kif got pregnant. Nobody knew who there was because of the situation that happened, and that because he had touched skin to skin with Leela, Leela was the mother of his children. Okay, this what this guy is trying to do is very similar to this Futurama episode. Okay, Derulio, I understand where Derulio knew. This is not like something that's coming out of the ether for Derulio. Okay, girls, we all open. All right, we have cycles. It's fairly regular. Derulio knew. Okay, cycle was coming up. Derulio did not wear gloves. Why is Derulio not wearing gloves? See, I'm adding a little bit the writer on this one because of that. Derulio should have been wearing.
So I have a little bit of a theory about this because I have talked about this on the stream before about how this episode is not one of my favorites because so Derulio isn't wearing the gloves, but when he's first talking about the pheromones, like, oh, it's pheromones, it just makes you want to have sex. He doesn't realize that the intensity with which people respond to it is different from species to species. He doesn't realize the intensity till you have that moment where he's in bed with Mercer and the ship is about to be exploded by an enemy ship. And he's looking out the window. It's like, shouldn't you go do something? It's like, oh, no, they're fine. They can handle it. It's like, no, but you're the captain. That's when it dawns on him just how intense his response is that other people are responding to him.
Rose, can I ask you a question? Didn't Derulio also have am I not remembering right? But didn't Derulio's race also have like a different vision of sex? Like it was very casual for them.
Yeah, it was incredibly casual. That's why the whole being in heat and then having sex with each other was no big deal. And so he wasn't he didn't totally get the whole cheating thing. Like he kind of knew that it was a bad issue, but he also it wasn't a big deal for him. And so he is basically a walking roofie. So at the end of the episode that nobody really addresses, like they don't put in protocols. The issue I had was that after the fact, after all these things happen, they don't start filing in protocols of what to do when someone in his species is in heat in order to keep people safe, to prevent a situation like that from arising again. That was the issue I took with the episode. But I also saw Derulio's character wasn't cognizant of the effect he had. Just like Yaphet, having no idea the pheromones were going on even, didn't understand really what was going on with his interaction with Dr. Finn. So then when you have Derulio interacting with Mercer and Kelly, and they're responding to him very intensely, but then you have Alara not responding to him. Like her species is essentially immune to his pheromones. And so you're dealing with that. And so everybody's responding to it to different degrees and in different ways. And I really just wanted the episode to end with their putting in some kind of parameters around how that species interacts with other species in the future to prevent destroying a ship with 400 people on it. But
I totally agree with you, Rose, on that one. I mean, but Derulio is one of his species, humans, like species. This had happened in the past. Otherwise, Alara would not have medical. Okay, so there definitely, absolutely should have been even before showed up. I mean, and also, this wasn't the only. Obviously, Derulio treating it so casually and treating Kelly casually. This had ongoing issue between Derulio's and people on the Orphans in general. And also do agree with you on each individual human react differently to the pheromones too, just like they would react different locations or whatever. But the whole idea, even if they wanted to just kind of establish what we're saying, you are absolutely correct. At the end of the episode, there was no of making anything to keep you safe during,
especially considering the
we're going
history
to
Alara brought
blame
up.
them.
There's a precedent.
Okay,
there are
because it's such a
multiple
natural
precedents.
thing. Exactly. And so there should have been some mention of it. So
Yeah.
I do agree with you.
But didn't we bring this up so we could hear the guys' opinions about this episode? Come on, fellers, let us know what you think.
Yeah, I thought I agree with Kithia and I agree with Rose, but I also agree with PJ and the fact that he was sort of trying to pick on that little nugget of whether or not there was criminal motive.
Yeah.
And I don't think there was criminal motive here. I definitely think that that we're playing with that Ilan of Troyes idea from 1968. And I think nobody batted an eyelash when it was Ilan of Troyes in 1968 because the roles were reversed. That, however, does not mean that I think that we can automatically accuse Seth of something, horrendous because he just reversed the roles. Perhaps he had also thought behind the scenes that we've played with this idea of being touched by a woman and being under control with them in Enterprise in the original series, then again in TNG, then again in Enterprise. There was also several incidents of it in DS9. So in almost every single form of Star Trek, we've seen this idea. And we all need to remember that Orville is about paying homage to Star Trek and Gene Roddenberry.
Yeah.
So I just think that the fact is that people are looking too much into it. I do think that this comes from Ilan of Troyes, and I think it's this idea that that this could happen, and he's playing with this idea. I do not think that he's playing with the idea of rape. I don't think that he's playing with the idea of consent. I actually think that he's playing with a Star Trek episode, and I think multiple Star Trek episodes. And I think on the other side of the lens, people are micromanaging it and reading too much into it because, and this is the whole reason why I wanted to bring this up on the show today, is that people are growing accustomed to demanding that their science fiction not challenge them or teach them or even just be frivolous fun. It must be serious political speech in every single episode. And I think this is actually a demonstration of the antithesis of that.
Yeah.
I think this is purely a Star Trek homage, has nothing to do with this other stuff. I think it's easy to read that into it, but I don't think there's any criminal motive, and I don't think that there's any dark or terrible or awful motive on the part of the Orville television show. It's simply not true. If you watch Star Trek, you would know this is a reoccurring theme, and it's quite harmless. It's just in Star Trek, we've always seen the women doing it, and Seth turned it on its head and made.
And we see it in paranormal fiction too, with the idea of vampires compelling their victims.
Yes.
So it's just something that we're fascinated by, is the various ways you can control another human being, influence their thoughts, and the way their mind sort of adapts to the fact that they went and they did what they did, and has a way of folding it in with the narrative they were already telling themselves of who they are. It's a very interesting thing to play with in storytelling.
And what you just said right now, Rose, is probably the most intelligent way to attack this kind of overwrought mental gymnastics type of rhetoric.
Yeah.
Are we willing to put this idea that our arts and entertainment has to be deliberately didactical? Are we willing to put that ahead of our arts and entertainment? And the example you've given is so beautiful and wonderful, because look at it in the literary context. Would we be willing to throw away Bram Stoker so that we could make sure that all of our little boxes are in a row in our messaging about the way people approach sexuality? There has to be some type of suspension of belief where it has nothing to do with real life, and always connecting and demanding it be a part of real life, I think is unrealistic, and I think it kills art.
And also, when you demand that it not only be didactic and be perfect, not even the Bible stands up to that scrutiny. It's basically the original soap opera.
Yes, yes.
It's got incest and family murder and all kinds of malarkey.
Infanticide.
Oh my God.
I also want to say, guys, that and forgive me because I missed part of the conversation, but I might be repeating myself or what you guys are saying, but the whole fact that we're dealing with an alien culture is I mean, that's, they could be light years from the way we think, their culture and is it me or did I hear somewhere say that it was rude to refuse sex? Didn't he say that at one point?
Oh, in his culture, it's rude to refuse sex.
That was said.
Yeah.
Yes,
so
it's so
we're
rude to
dealing with
refuse sex. Yes, Derulio did say that.
So it's like when somebody offers you a cup of tea in their culture. Though we also have that in our culture, tea as a metaphor where if somebody's asleep and they just want to be asleep, stop trying to force them to drink a cup of tea. Like, so we like, they view that cup of tea differently. It's like, oh no, I have to drink this cup of tea. And we're like, no, dude, I'm sleeping.
No more 18th century literature for you. You're done. I love you, baby.
What? Never give me my John Galsworthy or give me death. Oh wait, that's not 18th century. It's 1800s, but not 18th century.
Yeah, no, PJ, while you were gone, I was saying the same thing. I was saying, like, if you look at Ilan of Troyes in 1968, and you look at every type of Star Trek throughout history, starting with TOS, we've always had this contact with a female creates a sexual bondage or sexual slavery. And I just think that it's very insincere to jump on Seth for repeating this idea in his homage to Star Trek when it's a deep part of Star Trek canon. We always have an episode where a woman touches a guy and then that guy is under her spell. And so I loved Rose. While you were gone, Rose was talking about the fact that this is more about a vampire than this is about, Seth trying to say rape is okay. It has nothing to do with that.
I also want to... Yeah, absolutely, Raquel. Yeah, I'll finish. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm done.
I just also wanted to remind, because this is a kind of Trek, and I wanted to remind us all about the character of Aaliyah in Star Trek Motion Picture, who we interviewed, by the way. We interviewed Alan Dean Foster, who wrote the Star Trek Motion Picture. And Aaliyah is a character, she says that the humans are sexually, what did she say? That
Delton.
Underdeveloped or something like that?
Yeah, she's Delton, so...
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Delton,
So there could be a million different kinds of scenarios that would look foreign to us dealing with alien cultures.
Yep. And I think that's key here, and that's what we were talking about while you were gone. Is I think on the other side of the lens, it's easy to micromanage Seth and try and make this look like it's a dastardly plot to create something dark. But I don't think that it's appropriate or even grown up to expect that everything that you're watching needs to be a teaching moment for you. You're an adult, and this is a part of Star Trek canon. This whole idea of you touch something and you're completely unaware of what it could do to you. And often that does have sexual consequences. It's happened in almost every single, it has actually happened in every single Star Trek. Every single one. I could name all the episodes, I think, if I wrote them down. But
let me just say something from the last episode of Picard, by the way. Did you F her yet?
Oh my gosh.
What the hell is up with that?
I don't know. It's messed up. I mean, and it's I don't know. It's
a common thing in a lot of science fiction where it comes up again and again, where so often the way you communicate just how far advanced the civilization is for them to turn to humans and be more loose with sexuality, like to be less precious about it, and to, in the case of the Romulans for Picard, being like, all right, well, humans treasure this. She thinks she's human, so use this thing she cherishes against her. So it's playing on this idea that in the future we are supposed to be so much more, like that is a sign of how advanced we are, that we're no longer prudish about sex outside of a committed relationship, that it's part of, it's just a cup of tea.
Yeah. More tea.
More tea.
Let me also say, from a historical point of view, and forgive me for being crazily intellectual here about this, but from a health point of view, a lot of our customs have evolved with regarding to sex for health reasons.
Yeah.
And it's perfectly reasonable to think that in a very advanced society where disease is not an issue, that probably people would lean to be more promiscuous, or more free with their, sexual behavior.
Yeah. Whee! Just saying, I'm one of these people where I just, I understand that some people see feminism as extreme modesty. I, however, don't. I just, it's okay if you have boobs. It's really okay. And it's okay if you wear a nice shirt and you have nice boobs. That's okay. That's all right with me. But like, once again, I said, I'm not perfect, but I'm also honest, and I'm not playing into people's politics. I also objectify men. I'm terrible. I do it. I don't care what anybody thinks. I never insult anyone or do it to their face or
no, you're just appreciating the fact that they're attractive.
Yes. If Rose and I are watching Vikings and the boys all come out and they've got their hatchets and they're ready to set sail for the new world and take over some land, like I'm getting Rose a big bowl of pop. We're sitting beside each other, and Kathia, I'll be like, Kathia, look at his abs. Look at his, and for people to say that we simply shouldn't do that, I don't think that they get to speak for me in that.
There'd be so many bury the hatchet jokes.
How boring would life be?
But I just don't need anybody to speak for me in that way, because I think it's okay to be appreciative, and sometimes that can be a little bit comical. I mean, you can't just cerebrally swoon all the time. Oh, I love his brain. Spock's brain. No, there's going to be some times where you're like, ooh, pick me up.
I will have to agree with you, Raquel.
Right, Katie?
Oh my God! When Spock went full caveman,
it was a couple of weeks ago or whatever. I stumbled onto one of, according to Christie's, Queen Council live streams, and man, they had a lot to say about Jason Momoa. And if that wasn't objectification, I don't know what is. Yes. Okay, so absolutely 100% women do it as well.
Ooh,
and it's just part of who we are. We like to talk about what we like. We like to talk about, well, I talk about things usually other girls don't talk about. But man, those muscles, Peter that he wore to the award show and everything. We do it too.
I said it before. If you're too many weight classes above me, it's a no. Like, I can appreciate the pretty when it's on a screen,
sure,
but not in person.
There are times I sit around with my girlfriends, and that's exactly what we say when we're watching a film. It might not be a guy we're going to marry. I'm pretty partial to dad bod myself, but the thing is that
I'm dad bod special right
if
now.
I'm watching that, I think it's very disingenuous to get on social media every day and start pumping up people's tires about how they need to be above that. I think it's unnatural, and I also think that it's super dishonest. When I look at the pretty boys and I'm with my girlfriends and we're having a glass of wine, you're damn right. I look at him and go, ooh, he's pretty. Probably not smart. And see, look, again, a stereotype, because women, and women suffer this too. But just, I guess my sticking point
They're
is,
not contextualizing.
not only that, they're pretending like there's like this ideal behavior of us. And I think as long as you're not hurting people, as long as you're not insulting people, and as long as you're not overstepping your social boundaries, I don't think it's fair to get on the internet every day and act like all of this is bad.
Yeah.
I don't think it's bad.
All right, I gotta say something,
Drew?
Because as human beings, we appreciate aesthetics. We appreciate other beautiful human beings. From the dawn of time until now, as we've grown socially as a culture and everything else, you're always going to have guys that sit around and appreciate hot girls. You're always going to have girls that sit around and appreciate hot guys.
Yeah.
It's the way of things.
And you're also always going to have guys appreciating guys and femmes appreciating femmes. It's what we do.
Right. I mean, look, I'm straight as an arrow, but I'll be the first person to say, man, my boy PJ is hot as fuck.
Yeah, but I'm like Rose. I'm very, very hard left leaning, but at the same time, I haven't evacuated my brain. I didn't jettison my brain. Like, I realized that it's okay for us to be sexually attracted to one another, and I don't care what your flavor is.
Yeah.
Just get on the internet every day and act like we are high and mighty.
I know, exactly.
Superheroes in tights, and we're beyond having superheroes in bustiers. I mean, we all want to see that, and it doesn't matter what flavor you like. We just want to see that. So pretending like we should all be ashamed of that, and the ideal is now to be completely void of sex and sexuality and appreciation. And appreciation can be positive. It doesn't have to be negative.
Yeah.
I think it's disingenuous, and I think it's bad for society and socializing. And I also think it's fraudulent.
I happen to think the women on this panel are absolutely gorgeous. But I mean, I don't sit here and say that I'm wrong for feeling that way. I mean, I appreciate beauty. And y'all have it in spades because, and sure, I appreciate it on the intellectual side, but, I mean, you're just good looking people.
There's nothing wrong with looking at a person and it registering. That's a pretty face. That is a very pretty face. And I'm glad I crossed paths with it.
But saying Wonder Woman is bad, and that we got to put a mass amount of clothes on her because modesty equals feminism, it's completely disingenuous. I love Keithia's reference to Jason Momoa. Look at Thor. I mean, look at all the superheroes. None of the men are wearing anything but a loincloth. A little bit of air, and Hercules is,
I tend to look at Loki, and I've never seen him in a loincloth.
Well, but I'm just
Fingers
saying
crossed.
that our entertainment is not void of objectifying males as well. It's actually becoming more and more popular. So no one can speak from a position of holier than thou. That's my point.
Yeah.
Well, I can talk about it from the guy side. I mean, like we love looking at like we post a lot of gifts to each other, like of Gal Gadot and people like that. I mean, hey, we love hot chicks.
She is
They
so
feel
gorgeous.
like librarians are
I text
librarians are
pictures
very
of Gal
sexy.
Gadot to my friends all the time because hot damn.
Yeah, exactly, Rosie. I'm with you, girl.
PJ, you guys.
If that
PJ
was
just
true,
said,
I would have had a date in the last 10
PJ
years.
just said librarians are hot too, everybody. Everybody talked over PJ, but he was like, look, man, librarians are hot too.
I mean, if they weren't hot, we wouldn't have the hot librarian trope where you're whipping out all your hair and taking the glasses off all fast. Come on, come on.
Yeah.
We all like a hot librarian.
and she's sitting in the
Oh my goodness.
No, Loki is sexy too, but that's not my point. My point is not like, oh, okay, well, that can be the only idea of sexy. It's the fact that I think that it's really wrong for us to constantly be meditating on our social media about this idea that women are very wonderful, pristine saints, and we never talk about sex. And when you put us on screen and you dress us as superheroes, that it should be completely desexualized. When meanwhile,
which actually plays against the dichotomy that we're trying to decouple ourselves from anyway. Of you have to be a saint or you have to be a whore. There is no in between.
I totally agree. Rose, I totally agree. That's also why I'm against it. It's like just because you're scantily clad doesn't make you a slut.
Yeah.
And a lack of clothes. When I go to Europe and I'm on a nude beach, there's sex has absolutely nothing to do with it. There's no sex. There's no sexuality. And if you've ever seen somebody laying on a lawn chair beside you and she has trouts on the front of her chest, and then the guy beside you is, very wrinkly, you realize it's not about sex. And I just think that it's wrong to shame the female form and to put the onus only on the woman to hold on to the modesty, and that's the only alternative.
And to shame the male form too, with how much emphasis we put on people having those big bulging muscles and everything having to be toned just so.
And it's why they're bald, because they're taking steroids. To say that men are not also subject to these to the objectification of the body is just not true.
Actually, let me. I'd like to point something out because that's a very good point. The whole issue of building bulk actually ends up causing a lot of cardiovascular disease in men.
Yeah.
Oh man, PJ, you gotta address something in the chat, man.
What?
Odyssey got pineapple on his pizza.
Why would you do that?
I could go for that right now.
I love pineapple on my pizza, but that's because I'm Canadian.
On a Hawaiian pizza, yes. On pepperoni and pineapple, I'm not sure.
No,
I'm a feta and green peppers if I'm not doing like the whole fresh mozzarella and tomatoes thing.
See, I can get down with you, Rose, because I do green pepper on a pizza. I like it.
I love green peppers and feta. But I actually, when I make it, it's gorgonzola. But pizza places, they don't have gorgonzola. They have feta.
No, yeah.
A close second.
Yeah.
PJ, we've lost the chat to pizza talk. We know that it's around the dinner hour for everyone.
I learned enough a while ago.
Yeah. But I think that we're identifying, some good things here. We know that deep down, people, most people come from a place of normalcy. It's really and truly only certain fringe people that actually live in this type of belief bubble that eschew and sort of push this sort of language and narrative. I think, I want to give credit to most human beings for having common sense and free thought that people kind of just roll their eyes when they read this and they know the difference. Yes, I at least like to think that.
Yeah,
I give credit to humanity.
I totally agree.
Phil, the standard is terrible for both.
Yeah, I think that it's a pot that's simmering on the stove and it's turning into a pressure cooker, and I think that it's good that everybody just talks about this in a positive way and not go off to your camp and start with the slings and arrows, but really just listen to one another and just be rational and think things through. And like I said earlier, try and think the best of people unless somebody proves you otherwise, and they seem to be quite extreme in saying terrible things, because we all know that can happen on the internet. Just don't decide that men are represented in 3 trolls that you met on Tuesday. And the same can be said for women, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Let's try and be helpful.
if I sat there and like equated every woman that I met to like the template that was my ex-fiance, I would have a serious problem with women. I know everybody is I know everybody is their own individual different person. And that's the beauty of it, because we're all different, unique, and awesome in our own ways. And that's what makes us great. And I think a lot of people, especially people like this writer that like espouses stuff, they forget that. Again, this is a minority of people that really sort of push this mindset. Because even Rose, you talked about being liberals. I don't think a lot of liberals even think this way either. At least
there's 2
maybe
of us
not the liberals you're talking to.
Yeah,
right.
Rose and I are here to represent. Here's your representation.
Representation of liberals who like actual liberality, which is you're free to do you and I'm free to do me.
Yes.
Like, let's just be respectful of each other and our differences.
Yes.
Exactly. I mean, and again, we shatter this narrative by, because we get along awesome.
Yeah.
And we shatter this type of narrative. And that's like I'm saying, it's so, this stuff is inflammatory, but as long as you look at it with the fact of from the larger view and realize that this isn't, people want to portray that this is the prevailing opinion, it really isn't when you get down to it. Because most people come from a place of common sense.
Yeah, I think.
Can I ask the ladies a question? Are you aware that there is kind of a cult following by the male fans of Ensign Turco on the Orville?
No. What is this you're saying?
I am Googling.
There is a lot of talk. There's a lot of talk that a lot of male fans want to see more of Ensign Turco. What do you ladies think of that?
I think she's beautiful. Smoking
beautiful.
sensation. Bring it.
She makes cupcakes.
She's the hottie.
As soon as you brought up that picture, I was remembering that time Bortis missed out on getting the flour from the cake and how heartbroken I was for him, because the struggle is real. How much you want one of the corner flowers. The struggle is so real.
When you want your icing and your fondant, you want it now.
You want it so much. When I was in chemistry class in college, our teacher at like the last day of class brought in a sheet cake, like this cheap sheet cake with the really cheap gas station icing, super thick stuff on it. And the girl sitting next to me had scraped all of the icing off of her cake because she didn't want it. And I asked her if I could have it. And she said, sure, just give me a minute. And she turned to say something to somebody who was in the midst of asking her question. It wasn't touching her cake anymore because she had already scraped it off. And I just immediately scooped it up and had eaten all of it before she turned around.
Yeah, girl.
Little stories like this of just like swiping food before anybody has a chance to realize what's happening.
This actual podcast, we actually have a boxy theory that goes on where we talk about all the theories for our characters. So Dave Bob, who I love, we're actually friends on Twitter, and he's so fun and sweet. But Dave Bob just said Bortis still wants a corner piece. Maybe on this show, we should come up with corner piece theories. Who got Bortis's corner piece?
But
I mean, Turco.
I love that. I love that idea.
Made the cake. Maybe it was Turco, like as a reward to yourself for making it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have a theory.
Let me ask you guys this question: Do you think that John and Ensign Turco are going to be an item in season 3?
Ooh.
If they don't bring back Alara, maybe. but they did play with the possibility of, in that alternate timeline, him and Alara having a thing.
Yeah.
So if they brought her back, though, they could also turn that into a very typical love triangle trope situation.
Do you see John as a relationship guy? Because I don't. I think he's like super young and like, I think it's actually Gordo who's looking for the
Oh,
relationship.
Gordo's 100.
Yeah.
Looking 100 is Gordo looking for a
Yeah.
relationship.
Yeah, but I sort of feel like John is kind of like, meh, I just want to have some fun. Like, I don't.
Yeah,
at
I
that
think
point
because that
decide.
alternate timeline exacerbated his like. I think in an extreme situation like that alternate timeline, that's where you see him in a relationship.
Yeah.
So maybe they'll play with the whole, are they or are they not? Or maybe they'll have an episode where they just actually say out loud, we both want to be together. Neither of us want to label it. We just want to keep doing this because we really enjoy each other's company and we're not jealous of each other if we see other people.
It would be very cool if they made her use him, because remember, John Lamar is pretty on
the player
when it comes to ladies, and he's like, look, man, I've never been rejected before. I think those are his exact words.
Yeah.
So could you imagine if Cupcake Goddess shuts him down, or
oh my God,
or just uses him? I think that would be great. Like, if you want to send some really cool, challenging messages to people, and the Orville does that, and it does it beautifully, and I love it.
yeah.
That would be so cool. If she was kind
That
of
would
like,
be.
you know, John, you're hot, you're sweet, you're smart, you're fun to be around, you're super talented, you're brilliant, you're a brilliant engineer. But yeah, I'm just not that into you.
I'm
John,
done here. I'm done. Like, we've had our fun.
I just
And,
want to see more
I'm
boobs.
gonna bake
That's
you
all I want.
some goodbye cupcakes and
There you go.
skedaddle.
yeah, skedaddle. Haven't heard that since 1986. Skedaddle. I love you, Rose.
I try.
Hey,
Kathia, did you want to say something, Kathia? Go ahead, Kathia.
I
I know there's a lag.
think she's
Go ahead.
got more boobs than acting a talent. That's just me.
I think they haven't given her enough opportunity because there have been some moments where, like, the awkward pauses that happen, she's very good at the awkward pauses. And from my own theater experience, I'm like, if you can do a solid awkward pause, you got acting chops we're not seeing.
PJ, I just want to say I gotta dip out because we're doing the bounding thing shortly and gotta get ready for that. So dang,
Thanks
dude,
for coming, Drew.
should we tease it, PJ, that there's a big project in the works?
That's up to you if you want. I'll give you the big screen.
I'll give you the big screen.
Okay. So let me just say, chat. I do have a big project in the works. I've already kind of discussed it with some awesome people like PJ, George Peter Gatsis, and Drew Love that does the Captain Love comic book, and also I believe I pulled Raquel into the loop as well. And so
Oh, wow.
and so yeah, some big moves may be coming. Let's just say that yours truly, I bought my own domain and I've secured hosting, and I am building a site. And let's just say in the future there may be a new community newspaper on the block to go with the likes of Bounding Into Comics and Bleeding Pool. So
Hey.
so
Very cool.
so we will see what's going on, but and I will keep you guys updated down the road. I haven't even announced it on Twitter yet, so you guys have heard first.
Congratulations, Drew. We're very proud of you, and everyone here at Orville Nation wishes you nothing but the greatest success. And thank you for coming on today. And as usual, always, being so forthcoming and sincere with your thoughts. And yeah, I wish you the best, buddy. I really do. Congratulations.
And oh, by the way, Rose.
That's awesome,
since I know
Drew.
you're
That's
engaged-
I can't.
Oh, thank you, Katie. Rose, since I know you're an amazing writer, I might have to recruit you for some columns.
I mean, if you must, you must.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, guys. And thank you so much, chat. PJ, thanks for having me on. And Katie, Rose, Raquel, it's always wonderful hanging out with y'all.
Love you. Bye.
Oh, so good talking to you.
Good night, Drew. Thanks for joining us, buddy.
Later, Drew.
And I just want to thank everybody for entertaining these highly controversial topics. I've been seeing them floating around in the social media and floating around in the fandom, and people are talking about these super weighty issues. And I just loved everybody's thoughts today. I appreciated everybody's perspective and thoughts on this. And I think it's really good for the fandom to keep it positive and to keep the communication lines open. And yeah, you guys were rock stars today. Thank you so much.
And I do want to say, Raquel, thank you to Raquel, to Rose, and to Kathia. Thank you, ladies, for bringing your A game today. I was like, wow. Wow. And I do agree. It is necessary to talk. It was necessary to talk about this at some point. And it was a great choice. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. And thank you, PJ. You're so awesome. You know, you're such a great host.
Yes.
You make everybody feel welcome. And I just appreciate the diplomacy, because diplomacy is very important. Being able to discuss issues intelligently so that people can make up their own minds. I really appreciate you. Love you, man.
Thank you. Thank you. Likewise. Absolutely. Likewise, Raquel and Rose and Katie. I want to just thank you guys again. And I want to thank Dave Bob, who's in the chat, Philip, Eccleston, Dega.
And thank you, Raquel, for bringing up that article. Oh, with meat such as this, my goodness.
Yeah. Something a little bit matey.
Louise and everybody. Thanks to everybody, guys. And this is a good point to wrap it up. And thank you. You guys have a great night. And you're all welcome back anytime. Thank you, guys.
Good night, Kathia. Good night, Rose. Good night.